All right, folks, you are back in with Jake and Brando. That's the show name. That I'm just calling it that. It's just Jake and Brando. You know, I heard not Marlon Brando, but I heard a million times how people just loved our show. My father immediately was like, that was awesome. Like, I watched the entire thing. And then just all sorts of people in the comment section last time, we linked up. And I think we do a great job, but you and I both are those people we can keep talking and talking and talking because we love the sport. We love the nuance of, football. And I'm really excited for this, man. I mean, it's going to be, we're going to be at each other's throats on later tonight on FC West Roundtable and probably the next one. But you know what? You're one of my buddies in this industry, so I'm lucky to have you and excited to do this with you.
I want to echo the same. You've become a really good friend to me, and this is just over our short, it's only been a year. It seems like a lot longer than that in general terms, but I love obviously the work you do and how you cover your team. It's been just so tremendous going to the round table and such a cool, it's like a whole, room to a house you didn't know existed. So in speak and being able to do this, we all do collabs and whatnot. But to come in with you guys like brothers in there and to have the chemistry we do and to be able to, come in and you're willing to, go along with me. I pull Jesse along. He'll get 2 hours in and you go, okay, here, okay. He's doing his little UFC tap out, but you'll go with me step for step. And that, like you say, is because we both really do love this sport. And it is because not just we love the sport, it's really fun, because there's so many things to unpack within the sport as you get to the depth of it. Yeah, we love our teams and we're going to both, like you say, be each other as far as the talk and the trash here and there. But it is also just the appreciation of this because there's so many things to think about in this sport, especially like this particular matchup. And it never stops capturing my imagination.
I just think that these two teams, I don't think the NFL could have drawn a better matchup in any scenario in the postseason. We've been talking about this. We've been teasing this. You and I were ahead of the 8 ball. I'm just going to say it right now. You and I had the Rams 1 and 2. You probably had the Hawks ahead of the Rams. I had the Rams ahead of the Hawks, but we've had them 1 and 2 since probably the middle of the season. I mean, I would say that Tampa game didn't move me 1 millimeter because I still felt like Seattle, who didn't have even worry, they were not 100%, and they still almost won that game. That was probably the best Tampa had been all season long. So yeah, I mean, I felt like, for the most part, and before the season started, they were 6,000 odds to win the Super Bowl, which was so stupid to me. So were the Patriots, by the way. And Denver and the Rams, by the way, 2,200. I hope we can stop looking at those futures and just start realizing these people have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, Seattle, what was it? Was it 7 wins? That was
7.5.
Insane. Yeah. I told you initially had the 49ers, and then I switched it right before our show. I was like, you know what? I have a really good feeling about Seattle. I gave them 11 wins. I had them making the playoffs. And here we are. Rams, Seahawks. Seahawks won the NFC West. I mean, the Rams have 1 more point or 1 more yard. I think 1 more point. It's something like that. It's very, margin for error is so slim. 21-19, 38-37. It's been that type of year. But, I mean, this has been the case with Sean McVay versus Mike McDonald. I mean, going back to the Ravens, you have that overtime game in 2023, and you could see it. I mean, 3 of the 4 matchups that Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay and the Rams have had against Mike McDonald, they're 2-2. They're 2-1 against Seattle. 3 of the 4 have gone to overtime. I found that to be crazy. That is insane, especially because 2 of those 3 actually were high-scoring games in the 30s for both teams. What are the odds of that for a defensive-minded coach and everything? So I'm excited to talk about it. Let's get into, kind of the history of these two teams. I mean, Seattle leads the all-time series 29-28. Rams can knot it up this Sunday. Seattle can take a commanding 2-win lead because you never know how things are going to go. I mean, that's hard to come back from, right? You need to sweep them next year to tie it up. But Sean McVay, 12-7 all time against Seattle, 6-4 on the road in Seattle. Mike McDonald's 2-2 against the Rams as head coach. Stafford 6-1 against Seattle as a Ram. The Rams have only scored 23.8 points per game against Seattle under Stafford. But the Seahawks are 0-2 in the playoffs versus the Rams. Seahawks have also never lost in the NFC Championship game. There's a lot of things like something has to give. So I give you the floor.
Yeah, well, I think you capture it well in that when you come down to this, as the last two matchups have foretold, this is probably going to be one that's going to come down to the wire. It may be one of those like team who's got the ball last or something like that. Could be the situation at play here when you do look at everything across the board. There's going to be a lot of individual items for us to look at advantage-wise, but I think in looking at that, seeing how this has played out, seeing how it's played out recently, I think in general terms, it's pretty safe territory to say that it's probably the likely way that this goes within this game. I think as well, you've got to kind of take like the knife or the hatchet, I would say, down and cut a firm slice between what's occurred prior to Carroll and what's occurred post Carroll. And while it's not to take away from the achievement of Stafford coming in and beating us in the playoffs or beating us as well as he has throughout, it's just a whole different animal with this defense that you're playing and a whole different animal with a Mike McDonald all the way down the line, even how he executes his offense, quite frankly. So I think that you look and you see how it's gone this tight, this soon, see both teams in relatively pretty good health shape. In fact, fantastic health shape considering this time of the year and some of the other opponents and what they're dealing with. And you go, yeah, they're very even teams. Like you said, we've looked at this from back halfway in the year and said this is really emerging in this way. And not just to say it's the two best teams of the NFC. It's as I believe it. This is the true Super Bowl this week. It's not coming next week. It's now. Whatever team wins this game is going to dog walk whoever they face in the Super Bowl. I'm going to be pretty firm on that. And I like the plucky upstart Patriots, but we're going to look back at the season if they get in the Super Bowl, which looks likely with Jared Stidham, that you come out and you go, they had a really easy schedule. And then they had a really easy conference championship game to get the Super Bowl. And then those teams had to play in the toughest division in football, including having to beat one another in a trilogy matchup into the conference championship. One of these is not like the other, Jake, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I've actually used this argument when I'm covering the Yankees and why I kind of feel like, if they don't beat the Dodgers that year, that was the easiest time to beat the Dodgers. They were probably, as weak as they're going to be now. And it was like a weaker MLB. And I know you're also an MLB fan and you could agree that year just the Yankees didn't face anybody that was big. And the reason I bring it up is because that's how sports is. It's cycles. I mean, sometimes you have years where it's like, oh, you got the juggernaut, like the Pittsburgh Steelers are 15-1, the Patriots are 14-2, and then somewhere in there you have the Chargers who are 12-win team that year or whatever, and it's like it's not always the same. It's just not, and so you get some historic year from the NFC West. 3 of the 4 remaining NFC teams come from the same division, and then on the other side you have the 2 teams playing in the AFC Championship game who have played the easiest schedule among anybody. And Denver beat up on backup quarterbacks for most of their schedule too, which isn't really talked about. So it is really fascinating how that goes. It's like almost, you don't want to take away from like the Rams Super Bowl, but they didn't see Mahomes, they didn't see Josh Allen, they end up seeing Joe Burrow with like kind of a porous offensive line. And that's just kind of the way it works. I mean, you play who's in front of you. The Rams, unfortunately, didn't get an opportunity to play the Chiefs in 2018 either. And they ended up playing a team that I think they were better than, but they didn't have the experience. And so that one big game, Bill Belichick was able to just kind of play chess and win that one. And we've seen that in the past, but we've also seen backup quarterbacks like a Nick Foles come in and win the Super Bowl. We saw Tom Brady start his whole run, coming in for Drew Bledsoe. I mean, it's always a new story every year. And it's one thing I've learned is sports are just not fair. They're just not fair, man. And actually,
football's the least.
Well, yeah. When I was going through, because the Rams playing their crazy tough schedule, like for most of the season, they were, approaching 550, 560, which is insane. One of the toughest schedules ever for a postseason team. And I was looking, the Super Bowl winning rate for a team that plays a tough schedule is not as high as you would imagine. And, part of this could be you're playing these grueling games, you're beaten down, you're broken down by the end of the season. Luckily for both of our teams, they're pretty good. I mean, they're missing, Seattle is missing Charbonnet, and the Rams aren't going to have Akello Witherspoon. Those 2 are out for the season. The Charbonnet injury sucks, man. I hate seeing that. First off, want to get the Hawks at their best, and I want to get the Hawks fully healthy, because I'm not going to sit here and say, my team's the best, but I also need your running back to be out for me to believe in it. You know what I mean? But at the it sucks in a game like that you just absolutely dominated to go down like that. That really sucks too.
Yeah, it's not a great bit, but again, to the point of what you just said, when we look around what the Niners just faced, at the end of this year, and you make a very good point on this, and I think it's one that can't be undersold, and it is part of what does spur my confidence forward for the two of our teams being the team that's going to go on to win the Super Bowl. And that being that I've called it, maybe you remember it, I call it the feast fact theory. You know me with my theories I like to have. I call this the feast factor theory. And that is that you have a Tom Brady Patriots team for 20 years that can run roughshod through the AFC East, put their hands behind their back, have a cigar, maybe a drink through the year, throw 6-5 wins up on the board through their division, no problemo. And then they get that number 1 seed, and then they can have it easy. They can be rested up by the playoffs. And like your point is, normally when you're going to face this division, this schedule, you're going to get hammer-headed every single week. Then you do get to this point at the end of the year, and you are usually beaten down. Those injuries are more a bloom at that point. But for both of our two teams, they've been able to seemingly go through that iron sharpens iron, yet not get broken kind of thing that does tend to go with it. Because everybody will say, it's iron sharpens iron. I'm saying, yeah, it's great sounding until you break your freaking hilt. It can work that way nice, but I've seen it most of the time, and it's like you're just by the end, you're dragging the carcass across the line a little bit, like Niners were this year a bit. That's more typical of what you'll find in those situations.
Yeah, I mean, and that really is what kind of changes seasons and changes teams. I mean, I know the Rams had a lot of injuries through they won the Super Bowl, and I've also learned that it's also, it's not necessarily the best team, it's who deals with their situation the best. If your situation's the easiest, then more often than not, you're going to deal with it the best. But you could be the 49ers, who were that zombie, who found a way to get to the divisional round, beat the defending Super Bowl champions, albeit they're way different than they were last year. But, there are teams that handle it better. I said it on Roundtable. I think the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan deal with injuries better than Sean McVay and the Rams. I do. I think that they did a great job in the Super Bowl, and they deserve a lot of credit. But if Matthew Stafford went down during that journey, do I think they win the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't really think so. Like, I'm not like sitting there like, yeah, they definitely, I think probably the 49ers would have gone and beat, Cincinnati. So that's kind of the thing, is some are really good at it, some aren't. Of course, the 49ers tend to live in that realm of just constantly having injuries, so they're kind of used to it at this point. But yeah, I think with this game, you have two starters that are out. I mean, if I'm calling Charbonnet a starter, I think that's fair. They're kind of a 1-2 punch. They go together. And then Cal starting at cornerback for them, and he re-injured his shoulder. He's done for the year. But you have Kevin Dotson back. You have Tyler Higbee back. These are guys that were important that, Dotson played, but very minimal in that game. He got hurt in that game against the Seahawks, and Higbee was out. He played the first game, I believe, against Seattle, went on IR right after that. So did Havenstein. So it's like, it's been kind of like finding yourself. Like, who are you? And I think the Rams have honestly, they found a little bit of who they are in this Bears game that they just played, to be honest with you. I mean, when I was watching Roger McCreary, one of their, pickups, it's funny, both pickups for the Rams and Seahawks at the deadline, they both paid dividends in the divisional round. I mean, you have the big return that, honestly, if the 49ers were ever going to win that game, it was not going to happen after that. Any chance of that was gone. The momentum was all in Seattle. And that, like you said, that fan base is insane. Those fans are crazy. When they have something to cheer for, it is loud. And it really was. And then on the flip side of that, maybe not as explosive, right? Roger McCreary fills in and did a really nice job on the outside, playing over 40 snaps in that game. He did not allow a catch. So 2 deadline deals that had impacts. But Brando, kind of looking at Seattle, looking at this game that they just played, do you take anything away from that game? Like, do you feel like that had anything to do with Seattle? Was that the 49ers just finally being dead? I mean, is this a team that you feel confident, if given the circumstances, they could run any team out of the building? Or do you think that was more so maybe the perfect storm when it came to what the 49ers were dealing with?
I do think, and I'm going to say this with, like, we're both going to have confidence coming in this game, but I'll try to build my case throughout the show today on this. I do think It's not that I think this is going to be a close game between us, but if this game was a game we were able to run away, not to the degree of this 49er game by any respect, but just a runaway kind of game, I could see it for a few different reasons. And partly because this team has continued, and I've been consistent in saying this on the roundtable to you every week, they keep getting better and you can tangibly feel it. And I've tried, and I probably haven't done as good a job of articulating these reasons as you feel them go along. It's just small things, from the commitment to the run, Sam cleaning up the turnover problem. Your defense just continually getting better as it gets healthier. You're able to run all of your starters out there. It is one where you just keep feeling them getting better. And even from the game that we played a couple of weeks ago, they've gotten better. And that it's this thing where you just keep feeling this rise. And at the same time, it's the third youngest roster in football. It makes sense why it's getting better. It's a first-year offensive coordinator with the quarterback here in his first year. Makes sense why that's going to take some time to get better along the pathway. But that's what you felt from them. And in feeling that, you're got now a complete team that does feel like a juggernaut. We talk about the absence of this in the NFC, and I think some of it is the falling away of the Titans, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Ravens, and the Bills coming back down to form. Even a Bengals team a couple of years ago that's very strong, that's pale compared to what they used to be. And now you look to us, and I think we are both two teams in that sort of tightness kind of state. But I do think right now where we are, we're playing our best football right now. I don't know if I would say right now that I believe Rams are necessarily playing their best football. I think they're playing a good. This is where it gets hard nuance, right? Because so we think we're trash, we're trash. Okay, I'll keep that energy. No, it's still one of the best, if not the second best team in the NFL. It's just that we are playing that best brand of football, and we happen to be the number one seed, and we happen to have 14 wins. Those kind of all going together. It's all of that. And so you do feel like that, yeah, there was a bit of that taking it away. The 49ers just didn't have enough bullets in the gun, and I said that's a big part of this. But as well, that's the energy you've been bringing as a spirit here through the back half schedule. Everybody got caught up on this 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions thing with Sam. And I kept saying, you guys aren't paying attention, though, the fact we're still winning every one of those games. Number one. Number two, we're running the ball like demons. That's the other part of this. And so it's a couple things going together here, and that people didn't want to hear that. They go touchdown, interception. Like, no, he's playing efficiently. He just doesn't have to do enough. It's also Charbonnet, who you mentioned we lost, and the fact that he's the first guy since Marshawn Lynch to have more than double-digit touchdowns for the Seahawks at the running back position, while Walker himself had like 5 or 6 touchdowns rushing this year. So if you put them together, it's 19 rushing touchdowns or something this season between your two backs. Why not more passing touchdowns? Well, on the face of it, you'd say, well, didn't throw the ball well. He's bad passer, bad quarterbacks, bad Sam, right? But no, when you're able to run the ball in the red zone, that's what you should be doing. You mentioned Charbonnet, and that's a big loss. I'm not underselling that. There's a couple things he really brings, that red zone effectiveness and how he can run down there. Pass pro is going to be a big, big, big issue here. Walker's not the best in pass pro when it comes to those situations. So who's the backup? Now, we do have the secret weapon, a weapon that you guys once utilized to great effect. Playoff Cam Akers.
Oh, my
Don't undersell
God.
playoff Cam Akers, baby.
Playoff
Don't undersell
Cam
the
Akers.
revenge tour coming back to life.
You mean when he tried to give the ball to Tom Brady in the divisional game? 2 fumbles, 1 at the goal line? Put in Cam Akers.
He got that out of his system, Jake. He got that fully out of his system. Sometimes you got to have that, kick that out of your system.
So he was part of the Illuminati sabotaging the Rams.
Maybe that was what the script writers were. No one turns down Tom. That's all I'm saying. Nobody turns down Tom. Do you
remember, real quick, do you remember in the Super Bowl, Andrew Whitworth was blocking, I think it was Hutchinson or Hubbard, one of them. Hubbard. Cam Akers in pass protection. I've never seen this in my life. It's like the first third down of the game, and he blocks Andrew Whitworth. I couldn't believe, because it happened so fast. So I was like, hold on, I'm going to need to have a double take on that. I don't think Andrew Whitworth just got destroyed by Aiden Hutchinson in the Super Bowl. I just don't buy it. Sure enough, you see Cam Akers go in there, boom, he just knocks 77 down. And I'm like, and then this dude is on the podium. He's at the podium at the end of the game, and I'm like, nah. So, yeah, I'm kind of a Cam Akers hater. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm glad he came back from multiple torn Achilles, but yeah, I'm not the biggest Cam Akers fan, if you can't tell.
And I joke, it may be some of him. It'll be a little of Velus Jones. I think George Holani may be coming back. He's all right. He's pretty nice. But again, the pass pro stuff's going to be something, and the goal line offense will be 2 different things to take really close account of in this kind of game where scoring might become very, very important. So it is, but that is where we've gone to as a team here, where we're playing as good a defense as we watched back in the LOB days. I'm not the only one hearing it. You're hearing it from other national folks out there that have, not necessarily dogged, because they're seeing the same thing. I'm talking about former players that know what they're talking about with this, as far as not just being a fan. And I think it's true because what you're seeing from them is just not only a defense that's dominant across the board in every way, but you can feel it in how they're playing on the field. That's that part I get to where it's like, this ain't the defense that the Rams hung 37 up on. Big reason for that coming in, of course, we lost 3 corners in that game. Number one, doesn't get talked a lot about. Number two, the short week. And playing on short week, divisional foe, the Rams run into this year, where it's a weird game and weird stuff happens. And
we were there for one of them.
I was that. Well, that's my inference here a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was Mike McDonald runs a very hyper complex attack. You have the old Coach Carroll attack, which was hyper simplified, which meant we're running a lot of cover 3, a lot of off coverage, a little bit of press, maybe mix in a little bit of cover 6. We're going to run a front 4. We're not going to blitz. It was very simplified. This defense is the opposite of that. It molds itself to the opponent every week and how it wants to run. That's the beauty of the scheme itself. But within that, there's a high amount of complexity to get that play sheet refined, especially when you're going to take a guy like Stafford on, that you've got to get things down to a pretty nth degree to hope you're going to have a chance to slow that guy down. And so when I look at that Thursday night game, and the players reference this, so this is not me just pulling this out of my wazoo, by the way. This is literally from the player's mouth when they're being asked about it by the presser. We couldn't get some of the details down. Some slight miscommunications there in the backfield. Then you're losing those 3 cornerbacks. And look, we lose 3 cornerbacks in this game. You guys are probably going to win that game, or at least put 37 probably up on us again. No, I don't think any team right now at this time in the playoffs is built to lose 3 corners and be like, next man up. I don't think it works that way with that. So there was a reason even for a little bit of that, why there was a below kind of in that one that I'm not expecting. Not that I don't think you guys will find some points here and there, but just that, and not, again, we're not going to do to you guys what we did to the Niners, but a long way around the bush here to tell you, I really think this team's playing great football. And I think they can take anybody to church here.
It's funny because I actually, as close as I think this game is going to be, I actually see a pathway for both teams to kind of run away with it. And when I say run away, win by 10 points, not necessarily like 41-6. But first off, the Rams have already done that in a game where they were up 16. But I think we'll start with the Seahawks side. I tend to agree with a lot of what you said. I think the Rams special teams, which is vastly improved, and it had to improve. They wouldn't have beaten the Bears if they didn't lose those games. And honestly, I've gone on record lately. I think the biggest loss of the year was the Seahawks loss. I said it after it happened. I was like, I just think they're going to bounce back. They're going to be fine. That took a bigger toll on them than I expected. Like, they weren't entirely all there against the Falcons. And that's why I think Sean McVay made the really smart decision to be like, you know what? We might lose some guys. We might get an injury that hurts in the postseason, but we need to make sure we get our football on track against the Arizona Cardinals. And the first half was not great, but the second half, you saw them kind of play with a sense of urgency, and they finished that game off strong, 37-20. And people are like, oh, it's the Cardinals. Well, now it prepares you. So I think that Carolina game, they got off to a hot start, just like they did the first time against Carolina, and then the same mistakes kind of happened, right? But they found a way this time to win. Like, it was almost the exact same game, except they found a way to score the touchdown instead of the fumble. And what I found in that game is that felt like a recalibration almost for the defense, for this team in general. Like, okay, that Seattle game's done. We can't control that. They're already the 1 seed. We just took care of business on the road. Now we're going to have to go do it again. And Chicago is that team. I don't know how many teams go into Chicago, do what the Rams did, leading the game, getting the 4th down stop at the goal line, and then punting the football back. Caleb Williams on a 4th and 4, he rolls out 40 yards, throws that bomb, that prayer. I don't know how many teams go into overtime 3 and out and find a way to win that game. I think maybe 2. And it's the 2 teams that are playing. I really don't feel confident many teams would have overcome that. I felt like I called it a tsunami of momentum. And this is a momentum-based game. And that, to me, was a sign. I know Bill Plaschke even said it. He's like, that, to me, right there, shows me the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. To come back and find a way to win there, that was big. But being that, be that as it may, right? This is more so the reasons why I think the Rams could, whatever. But sticking with Seattle and why I think I could see them, if they did, I could see them run away with it. The special teams, as great as it was in that game, has been a problem. There is a guy that is a lightning rod. I mean, and we all knew it on the round table. We all knew it. We all knew Rashid Shaheed was a huge move when it happened. I wanted him in LA. Jesse wanted him with the 49ers. We all knew what he brought to the table. And he still isn't really being utilized in the passing game the way he could be. But in the special teams area, he's the most dynamic returner in the game. And so he's like your Percy Harvin. You get that touchdown against the Broncos, it kind of changes the game right away, kind of flips it on its head. That just kind of buried him, because then that was in the second half, right? In the Super Bowl. They came out and the Broncos are already not feeling great. And okay, let's get a stop and we can get back. No, they're dead after that. The game's over. He just completely ended the game. That, to me, what we just saw against the 49ers, they won the game on the first play of the game. If he were to come out and do that against the Rams, I believe the Rams could stay in it. I believe they might be able to come back and make it a game, but I think that momentum would crush the Rams. I really do. And it would be really hard and almost insurmountable right away to be able to come back. So that is one way I could see them kind of running away. Another way I could see them is because if Sam Darnold is able to take care of the football and they're able to run the football, I've told you, there's just not a lot that I have concerns with Seattle. It's really the turnovers. If they're not turning the ball over, they're going to be a tough out. Third, Stafford has thrown one interception against Mike McDonald in 4 games. He's thrown 10 touchdowns. He's thrown almost 1,200 yards. He's been really, really good. But it almost, that interception, kind of do, right? Didn't throw an interception, week 11, didn't throw an interception week 16. He could throw a pick, and then, of course, the interceptions, and this is why, he's the MVP, is because when Stafford's not playing his best football, the Rams just don't win those games. Like, they found a way to win against the Bears, and they found a way to win against the Panthers, but they normally don't win those games. So those are some ways, really it's special teams. It's Matthew Stafford playing good football. It's also the run game. Kyron Williams has been outstanding taking care of the football. But if there's a fumble, it's really turnovers, it's special teams, and then I think the secondary. I think they played very well against the Bears. A lot of weapons there. But if they can't stop JSN, like if he has one of those games that he had in that overtime game, I don't know if this team can handle him going for 200 yards. I know Seattle found a way to win despite Puka Nacua going for 220. I don't know if they could. On the flip side of this, going to the Rams and why I think they could. While Seattle has, been really dominant, they also haven't lately really been in any sort of battle-tested mode like the Rams have pretty much 4 out of the last 6 games they've been in. The last time they were battle-tested was against the Rams and the Colts. So that was back in week 16 and 15. But lately, it's been the Rams. Week 14, they're in it was week 15. They're in a kind of a bang-bang situation going against the Lions. A barn burner, 41-34. That game was never, determined until the end. You have the Seattle game on a short week after playing Dan Campbell's Lions, who play tough. Then you have the Falcons game that came down the wire that you lose 27-24. Yeah, you beat Arizona, but that game in the first half, that definitely gave you some run for your money. And then you look at the wild card game, and Carolina could have won that game. They took the lead with about 4 minutes to go. And then this Bears game. So I think that's the thing is, the Rams' recipe for success is going to have to be the way Tampa did it. And I said it when it happened. Tampa was the 5 seed in 2020 with Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, and they found a way to go on the road. They beat Washington, who people were like, they shouldn't be in here. Very similar to the Panthers. They won a close game against Washington. Then they did it a little differently. They played the 2 seed. That was the divisional team that they couldn't get over the hump at all. At least the Rams do have a win over Seattle. They could not beat the Saints. They got blown out the last time they saw them. They beat the Saints by 10. And then they went on, they played the 1 seed in the Packers, and they won. They went to the Super Bowl, and they beat the 1 seed, which that would be the Chiefs, which the Rams would have to play the Broncos, and we'll see if that happens. But it feels like that's kind of the path they need to go on. But anyway, they have the number 1 offense in the league, and they're forcing turnovers. Kobe Durant has, I think, 4 interceptions in the last 5 games or whatever it is. He's on a tear with that. They got Quentin Lake back, who they didn't have last time. They're stopping the run like they weren't before. And their special teams hasn't been an issue lately. So if those are the things, and you can force some turnovers on Sam Darnold, your special teams isn't where it was week 11. And then you have the offense, and then you have just the way your defense is playing, rushing the passer and everything. I think there are ways for both teams, kind of a long-winded thing there, Brandon, but there's a way for both teams, I think, to kind of run away with it and win by, I'd say, like I said, 10 is probably the thing I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a path here to it. I think when it does come down, both these teams, if I'm not mistaken, have had their losses have come by a collective yada yada points, right? Like we're 9 points in our 3 losses this year. So it's like, are we going to lose by 10 when collectively the 3 losses themselves add up to 9 points? Probably not. And I would say probably the same with you. And this is where we come back around to it. It's probably going to be a close game.
Probably going to be
the
overtime.
thing with the turn. Yeah, exactly. Probably going to overtime. There's a good point in there in what you made about how many close games you guys have been and what that, does create as far as, understanding those games, a little bit of what it takes. I'd offer too, though. It's like you just played the Bears and that's how they live this year though, too. And that's what they would have said about the Bears coming to that game with Caleb is don't get in a fourth quarter comeback situation because he's learned how to win those situations. So if it's like, well, if that does add up, didn't prove out there. He seemed to get, lesser in that moment than bigger in that moment, as everyone would like to tell you from what he'd done that year. But with that said, I think it's still a fair point that we haven't been in those kind of battles and matchups. I do think you're also correct in that this comes down a lot to me to turnovers. I think the 2 points in this game it really comes down to me are who can run the ball better and who can, limit the turnovers. I don't know if I put a lot in. I think there's a little bit I put into this in that I saw the stat today since week 12, Stafford's, I think, number 1 in turnover-worthy play percentage. Now, I don't think turnover-worthy plays are great because they're a little bit like pressure numbers where it's arbitrary and you can see the numbers juiced one way or the other. But there was a couple of throws in that game. There's the Carolina game with a Puka play where Puka's got to make a great play down in coverage in order to knock the interception away. So there's been a couple of those in recent weeks. And in my opinion, I'd love to hear your thought on this. I got a couple questions for you with this actually deadline, but on this one, in my opinion, these are being born not from Stafford, but being born from McVay. You see where I'm going to go with this?
Yes, 100%.
In that I go, Sean, I'm watching this game with Chicago and I'm watching both the effing teams in this game and I'm just shaking my head because I thought both teams fell prey to this, which is you look at these environments, you look at what's going on in this game, and again, it's a commonality with Rams, it seems like, where just you'll get away from that rushing attack when it's being damn consistent. You'll get away from Kyron Williams when it's being damn consistent. And you go, what are we doing here? And I've said, you get Stafford into 40 attempt territory. That's where you're going to get a couple of those turnover worthy plays. Keep him 30 and under and have it to where that balance and the play action's mixed in there nicely. He's going to play it super clean. And again, I know that there's some of these games, not interceptions per se, but just playing a clean brand of football, not having to put the ball in harm's way, not having to put where he's got to fit it. And a lot of times it's not him throwing it like errantly where he's like, we made a horrible read there, Stafford, what do you think? No, it's always usually coming from then he's trying to force it into a super tight window where there's just not necessarily a lot of separation on the play. And there's a potential for a guy to make a play on the ball if he makes a good one. And that's where you don't have to do that if you run the ball well. But do you see it that same way?
Yeah. I think right now, Sean McVay is a big reason why. And if he ever kind of figures this out, he's going to be unstoppable. He truly is. Like, I really don't think anybody has a chance to stop Sean McVay when he figures this out. I think, if he figures it out, I'm not going to act like he is going to. But even when the run's working, Sean McVay, and I can already tell, like, I've never met the guy personally, but I already know what he's thinking. He's thinking, I just hit 4 runs in a row, and I ran for 40 yards. I'm going to catch him off guard by throwing here. No. Just stick with what works until it doesn't. And then you can see that's the issue he has. And then he gets too cute, like running the football in the short yardage situation. We were at the game week 5 against the San Francisco 49ers. That play call on 4th down was atrocious. It's also the exact same play call he ran on 4th down against the Eagles that cost him in week 3. So 2 weeks later, and he's running the same run. And that's just, yeah. Those are the things that you can't have. And I totally agree with you. I think he's put Stafford in harm's way, mainly because of this. I don't care how good your offensive line is. Even the Bears, even the 40ers getting pressure on CJ Stroud. It's late in the season. It's all about effort at this point. All of this technique and stuff be damned. Offensive linemen are starting to fall off because it's late in the season. You and I are exhausted just covering the team. So imagine going out there and playing football, right? Playing in the 20th game of the year. Offensive lines, even the best in the league, are going to give up pressures. So when you have these long 5 to 7 step dropbacks, you have these long developing plays, it's going to put a lot of strain on a quarterback. And especially when you're talking about a team that, like, you look at Dennis Allen. Sean McVay's 6-2 or 7-2 against Dennis Allen, but it didn't look like that, on Sunday. I mean, Dennis Allen did one thing that I disagreed with. I saw a little bit of your live stream. Great job, by the way. Totally agreed with you on this.
Man, thank you.
The casino blitz.
Oh, dude.
Leaving Puka Nacua just wide open. Like, you're not guarding the most important player.
Bro. I literally wanted to punch Dennis Allen in the face. When Puka, they showed the back angle on it prior to the snap. You're going to know this play. I know you will. Puka goes in motion, and McVay just manipulates the shit out of the play. And they got the blitz here, and Stafford catches it. Okay, just bring him this way.
Yep.
Uncovered.
Totally uncovered.
Off motion. I was my steam was going out of my ears with these guys sometimes, and I just go. I mean, hey, it's also it's smart on McVay, but yeah, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. They caught you a couple times because. Really felt like just catching a Stafford will get you with the quick hikes, the quick cuts, where you can just wipe up the line and then the ball's instantly snapped, and usually the defense can go through all their machinations. And so felt like Allen's like, all right, we'll blitz a guy off the edge when that happens. And it caught him a little bit, but man, yeah, he started to really go like, more chips. Like, no, buddy, no, careful.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things where I think Dennis Allen, and I mean, he said it after the game, Sean McVay is like, you kicked our ass, and he's right. Dennis Allen had a great game plan. Sean McVay also could have adjusted easily and just didn't. But you know what gets me kind of excited about this game? Because I love that you point out, it's not Stafford really. It is, I mean, Stafford did have a couple of those errant throws, but I think it's McVay kind of applying pressure. Like you saw against the Panthers, they're letting you have everything underneath, over the middle, and they're just not allowing you to have the deep ball. And Sean's like, I want the deep ball. I want it. It's like, why? We saw that first drive of the game against the Bears is exactly what the Rams should be. They should be a team that goes down and just methodically drains you. They can score 30 plus a game. Hell, they could score 50 if they wanted to, if everything came together. But I feel like the Rams are at their best when they're working in unison with the defense and the special teams. And what I mean by that is when they go down and they wear you down with 12-play drives, and it's all just like a really well put together sequence, well, now it keeps the defense off the field for those 12 plays, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't put your punter in a bad situation where now he's punting because it was 1st and 10 at the 20, and you just threw 3 bombs down the field, and now you're punting at the 20. I hate that. Like, I absolutely hate that. Another thing McVay does on 3rd and 1 is he's going to go deep down the field on 3rd and 1 because he's going to look at that like, oh, well, now that's going to be available because they're expecting us to go underneath. And then, of course, while they're expecting you to go underneath, they're actually not, because now they're so used to you going and taking the deep shot and go for the shot play on a 3rd and short that now they're just leaving guys like wide open over the middle. So as a fan, you watch the games and you're like, this dude's wide open, and you see Stafford just uncork one, and you're like, it's a low percentage throw. Like, I don't care how good Stafford is. And I mean, he is great. I mean, we saw the throw he made to Devontae Adams. Everyone's talking about it. I think in some aspects, it might be even better than Caleb Williams' throw, because just the fact that he's throwing that on just an absolute line, across the field from the far hash when there's like no margin for error there, just insane. But my biggest thing is, yeah, they have to be that. And I think kind of coming into this, the thing that makes me excited is that Sean McVay, for the first time, I think really, he takes blame. I've never seen him outright say he just did a bad job. Like, he was just, I was bad today. He's like, the players picked me up. He's like, I didn't do a good enough job, and he thought when they punted the ball, that was it. Like, so that's him. He's saying he didn't do a good enough job, and yeah, I mean, I agree with him, and I'm hoping that it's so evident now that he's not going to overthink things. Because I watched him overthink it in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. They should have won that. I watched him overthink it a little bit against the Bengals. You kind of played in their hand a little bit, all because you had just kind of some unlucky stuff. You had the interception, you throw it right to Ben Skoranek, and he just kind of flips it up in the air. I've never seen anything like it. And now all of a sudden, you're like scared to just run your offense. Now you're in panic mode. And Stafford was in panic mode against the Panthers. He was in panic mode against the Bears. If he just stays even keel, I mean, we've seen what he can do. He can be surgical. So that's why I'm excited. I almost feel like these are the moments like, oh my God, I survived. I don't think I would have. He called a better game against the Eagles last year and they lost. Stafford threw more yards against the Eagles last year. They lost. Stafford threw touchdowns last year. He didn't throw it this year in the divisional round. They lost in the game he threw touchdowns. So I think that's kind of the way that they're going to look at it, and I'm excited for it.
Well, to your point, I'm most fearful from a game plan from the Rams, not as much of them pushing the ball down the field or Stafford's arm. This is where we come to the term that process over results. And if your process is smart, okay, sometimes the results don't always bear out exactly, but doesn't mean your process was wrong or that it wasn't the right one to apply. That second matchup, that first half, the Rams' offensive game plan, this is exactly what you're talking about doing. And that's, to me, as I come into it from a Rams perspective, is exactly what I want to replicate. And I think there's a part of McVay who could maybe look at that and go, well, I only came out of it with 6 points in that first half. So it wasn't successful taking that approach. See what that got me? See why I don't do this? I almost feel like a little bit, that energy, right? Like a little bit like, see, what does it get you? What does you get? A lot of first downs and no points, a little bit of that energy or vibe.
In 2022.
Yeah. And I can get his for him if he were to come back and say that to me there, but I go still to him. But like, look, that's control that clock. You're on our home environment. You're neutralizing down the crowd because now every first down you got, it's going to silence things down just a little bit every time where they're like the energy kind of as you're just getting first down after first down. And so it's like, that's to me, the game plan that would scare me most. But with that said, again, I've watched McVay so many times here where I'm catching myself, and I watch every one of your guys' games where I do catch myself going, man, why you got an old quarterback, protect the guy a little bit. I know you got the big berth in the bag, doesn't mean you got to bring her out for every drive. You know what I mean? Like we can save her for the right times, and we'll see what he does this week with it. But strange game plan in that last week with this Bears as far as just some of the pass happy nature. And Kyron was running really well, and he's extending runs and a lot three wide receiver sets, right? A lot of
90% 11 personnel.
Yeah.
It's like Tyler Higbee played 8 snaps. Ferguson played the most snaps of the 3 below Parkinson.
Bears got pretty good cover guys. So I go with listen. Brisker out there was balling. You go, why would be that key to your game plan approach? Why would you? I just couldn't quite get. I saw the same thing. Where's the 13 personnel stuff? You got Higbee back healthy now. I mean, Dennis Allen dick fingered a bunch of balls in that game against us. He's out now. You got your 3 compliments. You got Ferguson back, second round pick rolling. Like, here we go. You'd think that I would have done that all day against that Bears team and attacked him versus going at their secondary. But again, can you overthink stuff and stuff piles up? Are you at all a little concerned? I was looking at the snap counts, bro. And I know you were mentioning just a few minutes ago about how you guys kind of had to play some of the stars at the end of the year to kind of recapture a bit of the spirit there, which is understandable. Mm-hmm. But also maybe within that, and especially these last 2 games, the Panthers and this week against the Bears, I'm looking at some of your defensive linemen and Landman rocking 71 snaps, and how much this may or may not be a factor in this game where you have a Hawks who basically could rest everybody in the third quarter of our game against the 49ers after also coming after a bye, after also being able to kind of ease our way through the last 49er game. Is there any concern on that with you on some of these guys being, a little bit maybe wore down after all these weeks?
I do have some concern, but after listening to Bruce Arians, I kind of felt a little bit different because he was saying he was on Pat McAfee, and I thought he had an interesting point. He was saying, we went through being that kind of, road team. And he's like, once you win that first game and then you win that second game, he's like, you're just kind of, you're in the zone. You're not really feeling it. It's just, all the noise is just tuned out. And I get that. Like, I understand what he's saying. I do think that there is an advantage to the fact they played on a Saturday, but at the same time, the Rams playing now back on their schedule. They're playing on Sundays. Like, and I just think, honestly, there are quite a few guys, not a ton of them remaining from the Super Bowl team, but there are quite a few guys, in this organization that have been there, done that, and they kind of know what it takes. And, I just think that it could definitely play some sort of factor, but I don't for a second think that would be why they lost, because I think the Rams just tend to just deal with things and they handle them. I mean, they were getting so much scrutiny for not going and practicing in Chicago. So much. Like you wouldn't believe. Oh, they're practicing in sunny LA. And then they came out, they're going to arrive Sunday night or Saturday night. And people were like, what? Saturday night? You mean they're not even going to be in Chicago for 24 hours and play a football game in that weather? They won, didn't they? You know, they did the same thing. They weren't even in 24 hours in London. And they beat the piss out of the Jaguars. So much so, it probably knocked the Jaguars back on track. Like the Jaguars after that game, like you could tell, like Liam Cohen, like had a really humbling moment, his first like welcome to the NFL moment. And I think it really put them back on the right track. But yeah, I mean, they do things their own way. And people forget, it wasn't that long ago. It was literally last year. This team was dealing with a wildfire epidemic issue in California. They had to play their home game that they were supposed to have at SoFi at University of Phoenix Stadium in, Phoenix, Arizona. And then they had to go cross country on the road and play the Eagles, and they had them. I mean, they were 13 yards away from beating the team that went on to win the NFC Championship and then the Super Bowl. So I trust the way that they go about things, and they've kind of always gone through that adversity. I mean, you go back to the Super Bowl season, they have that crazy COVID, outbreak or whatever, and they played on a Tuesday night against the Cardinals. And like there were so many guys that were out and they found a way to win. It's just, this has been McVay for as long as I've known him. As frustrating as he could be with the play calling, I've never questioned his decision-making for the rest of the game. The only time I ever find myself really furious with McVay is the play calling. It's been red zone, getting cute on those short yard situations. But, these guys normally are pretty prepared. That's why that Falcons game was really a surprise to me, because I felt like that was the first time I've seen them, like, they didn't really look prepared. So, yeah, I mean, I think it could play a factor, but I don't think it's going to be enough to be like, that's why we lost. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to be ready to go. And I mean, you certainly probably me a little, but the adrenaline will kick in. This conference championship too, it's a stake. Everybody's just laying it on the line in these kind of games. Historically speaking, makes them all the funner to watch because you just can feel that spirit and energy from these players. It's not just a regular season game. It definitely does, get amped up. I think turnovers are going to be a big, important key here, of course, to this game, like we've talked about, which team can play safe. I think that's another part, just to touch on this last thing kind of you spoke to about the turnovers and, with Salmon intercepting them. This is the part with the offense, I think, that's going to be interesting to see if Seattle can stay with on this Rams team in this game, being that I think in the first matchup, Seattle got voluntarily a little too away from the run. Kubiak's got a little bit of that McVay in him as well, and that he can have a bit of that tendency and, hey, it's working. I got to do something else. I certainly now have to. And it's like, no. Just keep doing what you're doing, and losing Charbonnet is certainly from the 1-2 punch going to hurt a little bit. Though I would say Walker's a guy to me that's kind of criminally underrated in the league a little bit, where he's had to be dealing with through the early part of his career so often, so very little good run blocking, so few good schemes, a lot of times bad defenses that don't let him run the ball as much. A lot of him running inside when he should be an outside runner. You saw last week how they utilized him in that way. And that's really what he should be doing a lot more of. And with the prior regimes and stuff, it just didn't go that way. And he's finally now in a scheme that really does utilize him right. The one benefit being with us this year with Charbonnet and him is that 1-2 punch like you talked about, especially 1A, 1B. You've been able to keep this guy fresh. So you get down to now these two games essentially where it's conference championship and Super Bowl, and you go, look, buddy, I've got you fresh now. You don't have the McCaffrey 562 touches on your back this year to this point. We're going to need you for the next two games to go 50 touches for us. And I think he's going to be more than up to the task. It's that pass pro and the short yardage stuff. He's not as much of that back. How we answer on those two are really the two main worries there. But I think you're going to still run the ball well just because that commitment. And boy, they've gotten this outside zone scheme requires a lot of nuances to get it right. It's not a mull you kind of scheme. It's more of a get the angle right, hit this shoulder here, hit this at the same time as this guy's hitting this to create that hole and pathway and both land your strikes at this moment. Running back comes through there. It's a little bit more, and it takes some time to get that sort of rhythm down and right. And they've really started to understand that too on how they're blocking it to the edges and getting that. So it'll be I think both teams' big challenge. We're both going to probably come out, and it's NFL America is going to be expecting it's going to be a lot of, I think, running the ball and trying to just, play good defense and who can stop the run and force teams into those third and longs. And then once you get a team into the third and longs versus the third and 3, third and 2s, now we can get and run a little bit of flavor up at the fronts, run some of those twists and stunts and loops like you guys like to run, maybe a little bit of the fire of his own 5-man blitzes, but then try to then get that, force that interception at that time if you can, or a big play.
Yeah. I think taking away Charbonnet from the game also makes it so now it's like the Rams, because when Charbonnet is in, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I'm not ignorant to the fact to know what he means to Seattle and what he does in his role. I mean, you know me, I've always been a big Cain fan. I think he's outstanding. But if the Rams can kind of stay in that personnel now because they know they don't have to worry about Charbonnet because he's a lot bigger and, you know, he's going to break tackles and he's more of the, you know, like the ground and pound type of guy. I think, now you can prepare for that. And if they're just not able to run the football with Cain, which I think Cain's going to have a very similar game to what we saw from DeAndre Swift, which is like good enough to keep running the football, but it's not enough to kind of take the ball completely out of Sam Darnold's hands. And I think at that point, you could start and do some different creative things. And, we've seen it. I mean, I've complained about it. The Rams run stunts more than anybody in the league. But we saw like, it definitely helps, kind of mix things up and puts a lot of pressure on the interior of the offensive line. The communication has to be there. And if it's not there, I mean, it can be really bad. And Caleb Williams, they still couldn't sack him, but, that last play of the game, the last play of the regulation, like I know he completed the pass, but that was a stunt and they almost got there and they almost made that play. They forced him to run like 40 yards out. So I do think those are going to be big here. I think the biggest thing is if the Rams, to your point about the run game, if the Rams are able to run the football, and then on the flip side, if they're able to stop the run on the other side, then it's going to be a play action passing attack on the Rams side, and you're kind of neutralizing play action on the Seahawks side, and you're really forcing Sam Darnold to kind of drop back and throw. And can he do that? And I think it's possible. It's certainly. But this is the one where, he beat him in week 16 and he had a really good end to that game where he had to make plays and he quite literally threw the touchdown to, put them in position and then take the win with the 2-point conversion. But the playoffs is a different animal. And the last time he saw this team, albeit in a completely different venue, I mean, it was bad. So I think that there's a lot here. I mean, this is a beautiful storyline, I think. And I think this game is going to absolutely come down to the wire. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams won by 10 or the Seahawks won by 10. Because, there's just also kind of the over pursuit, the panic, when you're losing, maybe you try something. Same thing you were talking about, how Stafford has all those interceptions back when he was in Detroit because he's trying to bring them in a game where they're not really going to win. Like he's just, at this point, you're just in position, you're over pursuing, right? It was almost kind of like you go back to that Seahawks Rams 30-20 playoff game in 2021. And I remember DK Metcalf was getting in Pete Carroll's face and was getting in Russell Wilson's face to get him the football. And it was one of those things like where I think they totally should have just ignored him. Like, I understand what he meant. Like, we're losing. I want to help. But they try to force it to him, and Darius Williams is kind of sitting there waiting for it, and he picks it off. And I felt like that was just you're pressing too much. And I understand that's maybe in a different context, but this is a game where you got to play your style of game on both sides. You can't be pressing. Don't let the team dictate how you're going to play. It's kind of like, with basketball, a team that likes to play on the run. If you're a team that likes to play in the half court, stay in the half court. Don't panic as soon as this team wants to get going and have this thing in transition. Play your style of game. The great thing about football is that you get your possession and everybody is, still until you hike the ball. Like, you got to play your style of game. You get a chance to take a breather. You literally get a timeout after every single play that's run. I understand it's not a true timeout, but you get a chance to go up to the huddle, talk to the guys, run the play, whatever. Not every sport you can do that. So that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a team like, I think Seattle, if they could win by running the football with K9 minimizing the throws for Sam Darnold, keeping it maybe around 30, under 30, I think that would be ideal. And then just playing defense and finding a way to maybe get a turnover or two. They would sign up for that. I think for the Rams, I think they want to be a team that, I know Sean McVay wants to throw the football, but I think if he knew like the ideal way to beat the Seattle Seahawks is to play that 13 personnel, and I think you would want to run the football with Kyron. You would want to use Blake Corum if Kyron's run was established and, he's kind of wearing down the defense. You use him for the explosives. And I think you'd want to put a lot of pressure and, put a lot of pressure on Seattle. Stop their run. If you could stop Cain, force Sam Darnold into a situation where he has to throw the ball downfield. And then you try and play around with what Chris Shula can do. Maybe you generate some pressure. You force some turnovers. You force a turnover via a fumble. That, to me, is how I think the Rams would want to win it, ideally. So I think, like I said, both we're talking about the Super Bowl here. Not to go to it, like obviously to go to it, but this is the two best teams. So whoever wins this, I agree with you. Stranger things have happened in the Super Bowl, though. I know the last time the Rams were very heavy favorites against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. We know what happened there. So wouldn't rule out anything.
First time in there, but Belichick though, there ain't a Belichick on that other side that's gonna be able to do what Belichick did in that Super Bowl. And Vrabel's a smart mind; he'll cook something up defensively. Don't get me wrong there, but there just ain't the same kind of Tom Brady and Belichick combo. You ain't going up against that in this next round. You're going to go up against Jared Stidham or a second-year Drake May. And I just think I think you well broke that down. Come back to, again, these two teams defensively at the core run light boxes. They're two of the heavier teams in the sport of running the light boxes. They stay committed to it. And that whether you like this or not from a fan base, I like it because it allows them to make them feel like they sometimes have those extra defensive players on the field because they can get away with stopping the run with less guys down there. But you have that light box, it naturally opens the door up to being able to run the ball. And both of these teams have heavier personnel. You guys do it with your 13 personnel. We kind of do it with a little bit of 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends, a little bit of the look. I think in this game too, something that's come forward for us recently has been the old school Jake I formation looks. And these have been very interesting in this game coming up for your Rams because your Rams do a lot of times, and what they did in the last game that stood out between our two teams, they went base in those situations where we were in the 2 tight end or with the 21 personnel. First, we will just stay and we will live in that nickel. It's the Nick Eamon-Wari factor. When you got him, he's basically a linebacker out there. So you can just afford to do it. You guys went a little more 3-4. So we go I formation. You guys will go into a 3-4 look. And what stood out to me about this, and you mentioned Shaheed earlier on this, is that what's gone on with Shaheed is that it's not that he isn't working as a pass catcher. There's been some games where he's worked as a pass catcher. It comes back to, again, your 23rd, 24th, 25th in attempts in the NFL, the whole NFL in front of the season. Half of your target shares then going to Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. So you've got low amount of attempts from a volume standpoint, and then half of those attempts are carved out to go over here to this one wide receiver on almost a 2,000-yard pace for a season. So there's just not been enough food left over for guys like Cooper Kupp or for Shaheed. This is why Cooper Kupp comes up last week and leads us in catches and touchdowns or yards, and I say he's not washed. It's just that you don't need him. You haven't had the reliance. It's there though for Shaheed. So I'm going around the world on this, but we get in those I formation looks. The draw, when you guys go and base from teams, and this was with the Niners, is to start bringing that safety up old school style in the box, right? All of the old Cam Chancellor kind of safety comes up there as that extra linebacker. Now that safety over the top is going to want to lean over to JSN. Do you guys trust your corners? No more Keelio Witherspoon out there in one-on-one coverage with a Shaheed. As I saw the Niners try to tempt us to do this on, and I wonder in this game if we're going to maybe see this be the game you get the big play from Shaheed over the top where Sam recognizes he gets one-on-one in a game like this. Why not take a shot deep if you bring that guy down the box and he sees it? Because there's that penchant then for the combo. Safety goes here. The other safety will then start to kind of bracket on over into JSN.
There's a good thing there that the Rams have gone up against 2 quarterbacks that love to sling it deep down the field, Bryce Young and Caleb Williams. And you could even go and point to the fact that Jacoby Brissett only likes to throw deep down the field. So, I guess they're kind of used to that. I mean, Kirk Cousins, we can all admit, he's just kind of checked down Charlie at this point in his career. But All three of those quarterbacks, the last three that they've seen, they like to throw it deep down the field. And I think it did prepare the Rams because I've said it all year. I think the pressure and honestly just the reputation of the Rams defensive front has gotten so much in the head of play callers that they're not even attempting those. So the Rams are like top 5 all year and fewest explosives allowed. I'm not sitting there seeing Darrelle Revis and Deion Sanders on the both sides. I mean, what's happening is that teams are literally not throwing deep down the field. They're not trying it because it's just they're like, we're not going to have enough time. Jared Verse is going to be in our face, Byron Young, and now you've played against two guys that are gamblers. I mean, Bryce Young likes to throw it deep down the field, and he's had a lot of success, especially against cover 2. He's fearless when it comes to that. And then Caleb Williams, who by and large is one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the league, if not the most inaccurate, but he can also make a hell of a throw. Every 3 bad throws, he can make the greatest throw you've ever seen. So it does help them and prepares them for that. But I totally see what you're saying, and that's kind of how I see it. I mean, I think to your point, you get them in base, and it kind of puts them in a tough spot because, yeah, you could absolutely get Shaheed going. You could even, maybe you get a pick play and Shaheed gets open, and it's one of those plays where, the Rams only have a single high safety and he's on the left side and Shaheed's on the right, and then Shaheed's gone because the single high safety's on the wrong side of the field. It's certainly possible. I can definitely see that. I could also see Sam overthrowing him or underthrowing him just as much as I could see Stafford doing the same thing. And that's why those plays, I mean, they're shot plays. They're gamblers, they're huge moments, but at the same time, if you don't pull it off and you're throwing that thing on a 2nd and 10, now it's a 3rd and 10, which is a 3rd and long, which makes it harder to, I think the one thing that I've learned, how to beat the Rams is you want to get into those 3rd and short situations, or you don't even get to 3rd down. Of course, you're able to establish the run. If you're able to do that, you could start getting creative with those bootlegs. And the Rams, what they did, and I noticed this against the Bears, is they over pursued on one side. So the hat count was very much leaning towards the left tackle, and then they just decide, you know what? The right tackle. We've been running to the right all game. Let's just run it to the left. And the Rams had nobody over there. And it's like, you had to expect that something like that was going to happen. They were talking about it on the broadcast the whole time. They just keep running to the right. They just keep running to the right. They're not running the left. They run the left. There's nobody there. So those are the things. Like, I think, Chris Shula will take gambles. And as I've also seen with those stunts, and it's why I've been kind of not the biggest fan, is that if you overuse stunts, you're taking your guys completely out of the play in some of those. I mean, if you watch, like, Byron Young is running into Jared Verse, and it's a chaotic play. And it's one of those things, like, when it's done well, it's a thing of beauty. When it's done poorly, it can blow up your entire play. Because now it's like, okay, the pressure was supposed to get there. It didn't get there. Now a guy has all day in the pocket. Oh, he's got a guy open. And these corners, I mean, they're playing with heart. I give them a lot of credit. And that game was insane. The secondary has been under fire, under siege for the whole week. They come out there against the Bears. They do a great job. That was also mainly, in my opinion, because of the weather. I mean, I do think it's hard to get your footing down. I think it definitely benefits the offense in a game like that. I'm not kidding. I really do believe that. But it's just, I think it's one of those things where if you're expecting that secondary to show up this Sunday, maybe temper it a little bit, because those expectations are a little unfair, considering the facts. Caleb also is not as accurate as Sam Darnold is. Like, say what you will about Sam, and I know he's the butt of all these jokes and, the ghost thing, which I think is stupid. But, like, Sam Darnold is going to hit a lot of those throws that Caleb Williams just flat out missed and gave the Rams, like, opportunities. I mean, he missed the throw to Romo Dunze. He missed the throw to DJ Moore. This is the stuff that people don't talk about, because he made one throw on 4th and 4, and it was incredible. And he made a bunch of, nice throws, and he had the crazy throw on 4th and 8 against the Packers. But it's like what Chris Collinsworth has said, he misses the layups. Sam Darnold doesn't really miss layup throws. I think that's something that needs to be considered in this one, that they're going to be able to move, the ball. They're going to be able to move the chains a little bit better than the Bears did. And so that's the thing. Like, how's this secondary going to be? Emmanuel Forbes did a fantastic job covering JSN. Fantastic this year. Is that going to continue? He's also banged up, so is he even going to play?
Well, you had to scrape him off the turf on that one, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's going to play. What was it? The Darius Williams. He hasn't played much this year. He had some decent success when he did. Kobe Durant looks great when he looks great. When he doesn't, Cole Kmet, he'll tell you exactly what he looks like, So they're kind of a gambling secondary. The Bears are too. I mean, they had 13 interceptions between the two safeties, and that's just how they play. And I mean, the Rams, they're not as much of a gambling secondary as the Bears, but they're really hoping to get turnovers because they're going to play that kind of bend, don't break style. They're okay. Like, they force you to kick field goals. That's fine. And obviously you have the offense where if you're forcing Seattle to just kick field goals all game, you will win this game. I really feel confident in that, but it's all fun and games until they score that touchdown that you're just, oh yeah, we'll hold them to a field goal. Everything's good. Then they score the touchdown. Then it puts pressure on the offense. Then the offense 3 and outs. And now it's like, okay, well, now the defense is back on the field after that bend, don't break. They were on the field for a while, so that's where it can kind of be, a problem.
And that's why I lock onto it a little bit because of the fact that it's outside your guys' nature to sort of bring that safety up. I think part of the reason that you get your interceptions, for instance, a lot of what happened with the game there with Sam Darnold was not you guys running, casino blitzes or any kind of blitz at us. It was indeed you dropping those guys to coverage and squeezing down the passing zones. And now from a quarterback's perspective, I got a real tight throw to make into a lot of times within that. Versus I catch you in the one for where a moment of the game, your pants will be down and you're trying to come up to stop that run. And I got to bite you in that moment. I got to take that shot in the moment. You bring up good points about, okay, yeah, maybe getting second down, third and long, but this is why Shaheed's in here. I get him one-on-one on the outside, and I know I got a safety on the far hash over there who can't get to the other side. And I've been watching the All-22 the past couple of weeks as they've started to bring more of the I formation back in there with Oots, and that this is you're seeing the safeties come up. Seahawks were pretty hyper stacked up this year in general, opponent by opponent, in the amount of stack boxes and blitzes. You guys turn that on a dime in a way, and a lot of teams try to take your model from that first Seahawks game and present it forward beyond there. There's a lot of times teams that try to apply kind of that same thing because the blitzes kind of slowed down, stack boxes kind of slowed down. But I'm expecting, again, you guys to go with light boxes like I make here. I mean, even if we get beyond maybe turnovers and who runs the ball better, it may be which defense can operate more heartily from within the light box in order to then better accommodate against the passing attack. Like maybe it is really those two factors because both defenses are so similar, and that we want to get this done with light guys up front. We don't want to have to put extra bodies down here. I think in certain terms, from the Rams' perspective, they'd like not even have to go into base like they've had to in the past matchup there in the 3-4 looks. I think that they've kind of transitioned into more of a base, but if you really asked Chula if he had his druthers, he'd like to just run the front 4 up there and stay in more of a nickel look.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think with Quentin Lake back, it really becomes an interesting thing here because, the last time the Rams played Seattle, Nate Landman plays 67 snaps. I don't know if he's going to play 67 in this game. I just don't, Also, Omar Spates was better in coverage, much better. Omar Spates came through huge at the end of that game with the pass breakup on the 4th down, the goal line stand. But you can throw on Landman, and I think people are starting to see. I mean, he's a really good player, and there are things he does very well, but he's always been kind of your run defender specialist, right? That's why they got him. But if you're asking him to be kind of the all-around guy, he's not going to do that. And so
if only you guys had an all-around guy in-house at some point prior that it could do it all. I had 6 interceptions this year, for instance.
I know you're talking about Ernest Jones. They were never going to pay him, though, because they were worried about the knee. That's the thing.
You got to pay Landman instead for his lack of coverage ability.
You got me beat on that. I like Landman a lot. And
he's good. No, he's not bad. He's not a bad player. I'm not saying. You captured it. You captured it. And you could see the Bears were definitely attacking the off-ball inside linebackers early in that game with some of the in-breaking routes to the middle of the field. They were going at him for sure.
Yeah, I thought Spades did a nice job. Never really kind of backed down from that. I thought Landman you can tell he looks fast when he's operating around the line of scrimmage. It's quick. I don't want to say fast. He looks quick, but he's not a fast guy. I mean, I think he ran a 4.8 40. You know, you have a linebacker running a 4.840, but this is also why and this is a completely different, conversation, but why I don't really get too much into the whole 40 times when it comes to draft linebackers, because how many times have we seen, this linebacker ran a 4.7 and his game speed's like a 4.4. You know what I mean? And then the 4.4 guy his game speed's like a 4.7 because he's thinking about everything, That's why these guys are still playing in the NFL. It's why these guys are starting. It's why Nate Landman, who's an undrafted free agent out of Colorado, who was born in Zimbabwe, by the way, fun fact. Just felt like throwing that out there. But a guy like that is starting for a Final Four team, and they don't even have injuries at the position. That's why, because they like his sense of urgency and his consistency and, his conscientious nature. And I think that's just the reality of it. There are guys that have that. There are guys that don't. And just because you're a great athlete, I think first thing I think of is Devin White. You can be an outstanding athlete. Apparently you can get a lot of tackles and people think you're good, but you might not actually be that good. It's up here. And, there's also, it's also what's in your heart. Do you have a heart for the game? And I think a lot of guys, you see that. But Landman has the heart for the game. I'll tell you that right now. And he is, first time, he joins the Rams and he's immediately a captain. They love him. So we'll see. But again, to your point, I'm imagining it's going to be a little different because they have Quentin Lake this time. They barely even had him the last time they played, in week 11. So that's an interesting dynamic. And then, of course, I'd be an idiot not to mention that Devontae Adams didn't play the last time.
Yeah,
so.
No, that's going to be a big factor, especially as we talk about red zone and being who's the most effective team down the red zone and the threat that gives you down there with him. Can't be undersold. Scored a touchdown with them on one in the first matchup, in that matter. And so I'm definitely going to be one that I'm worried about in this game as we look at it and how to defend it. What we do with Puka, I think, they're the zone concepts and, the amount of teams that allow themselves to get manipulated with Puka, where it's like, I'm a guy that's just like at this point, I'm at just about the spot of just saying, grab Devin Witherspoon, stick him on Puka and call it a day. And stay man covers the whole day and take your blumps. Not that you're stopping him out of it, but just that I can see though the inverse of this when you try to run zone on him, and that this is I don't see any teams having effectiveness running zone on Puka. And so it's not to say this is the why aren't you always being idiots and not doing this thing? This will work 100% of the time. Not that, but you can't allow. As I went back and watched the tape from our game, for instance. And these were those details that they broke happen because they're trying to run zone. And then it's a lot of detailed zone on the timing of you're getting here to here at this time, and you're getting and climbing up here on this. And then we've got him kind of into this spot. One guy's off on his timing. One guy floats a little bit soft versus getting a little bit of depth. It gets exposed really quickly and easily at that point. And he's a master of being able to get that, and Stafford knows how to work it to him in those zones. So I would like to see them try to maybe run a little more, of the press and man trust that at times, have some self-safety help over the top if your guys get beat up off the line. But I think that's going to be a big key in this game of actually having just some kind of plan in place for how we're going to deal with Puka instead of just sort of this, which so many teams put out there. That play last week, man, Jake, I just couldn't believe it. And I've been lamenting this with Puka so many times and watching you guys through this year because I'm watching all your games, so it's just you're watching them and you're just going, I know some of this is manipulation by McVay, and I get that. I know some of this is that he's really smart and sitting down in the right places of zones. I get that. But I also see defenses that don't seem to have any kind of tangible plan they're trying to apply to how they take care of Puka. Do you see that the same thing on the week in, week out thing with it too? Or am I just getting lost in the sauce on this one?
No, I see it too. I don't really understand the way teams defend Puka Nacua is mind-boggling to me. But the only way I can really understand it is that, okay, this is a tight end room that has 19 touchdowns on the year. Okay. This is a wide receiver room that has Devontae Adams in it as well. And then they have a running back room with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. It just makes it really tough to kind of lean one way or the other. You know what I mean? So I think that they try to have everything where it's like, oh, well, our zone can kind of just cover everything, right? Because, if we just cover Puka and man, then Adams is going to go eat. If we just cover Adams and man, then Puka's. To be honest with you, I would honestly, I would bracket Puka and I would just see what that can do. And then I would go from there. Puka's still really good in man coverage. Like, without a doubt, he can beat man, he can beat zone, but he absolutely shreds zone. He's a much better zone beater than, he is a man beater, and he's still a good man beater. The way I've always said it is this: the whole year with JSN and Puka, I think Puka's the better player because I think he does more. But I think JSN is clearly the better route runner, and I think he's a better beater of man coverage, whereas Puka is a better beater of zone coverage. And so if you try to go one-on-one with, JSN, you better make sure you have guys that have foot speed to do it. You have to make sure that guys that can mirror in coverage to do it. With Puka, it's like there'll be plays where he doesn't even win the rep, and he just wins it off of pure, I'm just going to out-muscle you for the football. He didn't win his rep with the route running, and he's still a great route runner. There are people that, put their videos, their shorts on the internet. That one dude's like, he can't beat man coverage. It's like, that's ridiculous. But I think it's just a bit, if you know the guy I'm talking about. But
yeah, I think he's just, he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? It's one of those guys that he knows what he's doing.
I see it all the time now. So clearly he's doing something, the new Skip Bayless. But anyway, point being, Puka is still a great route runner. He's just not as good as JSN at that. And I think when you have Puka in man, the problem there is that, and this is why I say you got to bracket him potentially and see where that goes. Because if it's just like one-on-one, you better have a physical corner. And that's why you mentioned, Devin Witherspoon. You have to have a physical corner that can attack the catch point. Because a lot of these guys, they're holding the jersey. They're not really too worried about the catch point. Puka's going to eat you alive all day. He's still going to eat you alive if you attack the catch point. You have to find a guy that can try and make it hard on him because he's just unlike anybody that I've ever seen when it comes to contested catches. He just is. And what's so funny to me is you were saying how, why did they guard him like that? He's always open. This is why I was freaking out in the Panther game, because on third down, why are you attempting to try and throw a touchdown 3rd and 1 instead of just throwing the inside breaker to Puka Nacua? He's wide open every time. Puka's always wide open. So while you're sitting there complaining about him being wide open, why they cover him one way, I'm sitting there complaining why they're not throwing to him every single third down, because nobody has shown. It's like the same thing when we had to watch Tom Brady and the New England Patriots with Josh McDaniels, and you're sitting there saying, why is the in-breaking route always wide open? Did Tom Brady ever have that contested? He always had that just quick slant over the middle to Wes Welker, to Danny Amendola, to Gronkowski, to Troy Brown, to David Givens. It was always just there. And you're like, how is that always possible? And to your point, it's like, well, you don't know, the manipulation is probably, there's something going on that's allowing that to happen, but it's just so incredibly difficult to watch it. So, yeah.
I hope we don't do it in this game, because I have nightmares of, you guys running with 3 yards in a cloud of dust, getting yourself into 3rd and 3, running in, breaking route with Puka on off coverage, first down, wash, rinse, repeat for by and large through the course of the game. That's one to me where it's like you control the clock, keep it out of our offense hands. Offense doesn't get into rhythm, neutralize some of the special teams effect. Come back down. That process over results in that first half against us in the first time. If I'm in McVay's shoes and going, that was actually a very strong strat. It just didn't get you the exact results, and it doesn't mean that it necessarily was the wrong approach. And I hope he doesn't. I hope he goes a different degree with it. So we might want to catch a couple of these donos we got in the kitty here. They're starting to stack up a bit.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, let's do that, and let's drop a. Do you have a score prediction that you want to drop, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'm totally down to do that.
Because I feel like that'd be pointless.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, this game could go either in so many different directions as far as how the win. But yeah, I think we can do it if you want on the score. Certainly, they're going to ask for one tonight for us, so we better get something chambered.
All right. Do you want to do it now, or do you want to do it after the super? The supers.
We can do it after the supers.
All right, cool.
Gives us time to contemplate. How have you been doing with Josiah Stewart? By the way, one of my draft kind of crushes. How's he been doing? He's getting snaps out there.
Yeah. I mean, he was in on that Caleb Williams play. I don't think I've ever seen a player who had the great pressure there, and then that ball goes up, and then you can see him, and he's just staring at the scoreboard. He didn't even turn around. He's like, I don't even.
He couldn't believe it.
He was
I know he couldn't believe it.
But no, he's a good player, man. And the thing about him is that his size, how good he is in the run game is just not talked about nearly enough. Because you can tell the people who watch film, the people who just see, oh yeah, he's this small guy, so he must not be good. His leverage at stopping the run has always impressed me. And it impressed me at Michigan. And people just look at him, he's this small guy. And I remember it like it was yesterday. You compare him to James Harrison. I see it. I absolutely see it. And I think he uses his size to his advantage. And I'm not like happy the guy got hurt and I felt bad. But Ikem Ekwonu, he ended his season. Just ended it on a bull rush. I don't think he expected that much pop, that much power.
And that's a big Ekwonu's a big old
Ekwonu's huge.
Yeah.
So that's your guy for you. I'm not, like I said, I'm not happy Ekwonu got injured, but I'm just showing you, like, I don't think Ekwonu was ready. When he came in for Jared Verse, he was expecting a serious drop off in power, and that's the most power I've seen from a bull rush all year long. It was insane.
Before we get to a couple questions, I forgot I was going to ask you on this in regards to this. Is there any draw then from your standpoint this offseason? We got Kobe Turner, we got Puka, Avilia, couple extensions we got to get down in the books, right? Is there any thought process to this with Byron Young being one of those guys of you move Josiah Stewart in there and you sort of, like what I'm thinking here is that let's go through a couple things because this is going to be interesting. People are going to want to wonder for you on this.
Yeah.
Let's say Stafford, I know you're a big proponent on Stafford's going to play for multiple years still beyond this point, and that's likely to happen. And so that may happen. If there was the wild out of left field to where he did decide to retire here, would you want to, at this time where you stand now, want to put a package together? Are you still on that board with, we'll find something else other than I know I've asked you this before with the Burrow thing or something like that, but the timing of this, package you could put together, I mean, hell, even if you just threw out Burrow, taking like a Byron Young and taking a couple of first-round picks and throwing it at the Raiders for Max Crosby, you guys fall a little bit short this year, like in this game, for instance, you would be no on that.
No. I mean, at least Max doesn't have the injury concerns, although he did have an injury. I love Burrow.
Did he?
I really do. Yeah, no, I know, right? I love Burrow. I wouldn't trade for a quarterback with injury concerns, and Burrow's hurt every year. I couldn't do it. I feel like that would be really reckless. And I understand people will say, well, you did it with Stafford. Yeah, but I'm sorry. I think Stafford's a little tougher than Burrow. I just do. He played through, he was about 65% healthy. That was a report from Diana Rossini the year he won the Super Bowl. They reported that him going in the playoffs, I didn't even blink. I was like, they're winning the Super Bowl. I knew it. I stood by it. I was like, I've seen Stafford play through everything under,
What's your pathway to replacement then? If he does go and it's not a Burrow trade, you got a Super Bowl ready-made roster at this point. So it's like,
well, I definitely want to see how things play out in Dallas because Dak Prescott would be atop my list. I think he is awesome. I really do. But also, there's 10 coaches that were fired. I think there's going to be some moving. There's going to be some moving around. It would really be interesting, and it's a great question because I think like Dak would be a great option, but is Dallas going to be selling, right? What
two first? Would you do your 2 firsts for Dak? Sorry to interrupt you, but these are just popping to me.
I do a first and a third. I don't think I'd do 2 firsts. I don't know if with the contract, I don't know if you'd have to go 2 firsts for Dak.
Well, we're eating the bonus money, Jake. America's team's eating the bonus money. You're getting them free off that. Free bonus money, Jake. You give me 2 firsts.
Oh, man.
Jerry only takes 2 firsts for a quarterback.
Well, Jerry, you're taking a first and a third because we met at the Senior Bowl, and I'm telling you that.
You need him right now. You don't got a quarterback. You have retirement. That's what you got. You need that.
Not happening. It is going to be interesting, though, because I was looking at the free agency. If any team wanted to trade a quarterback, this is the year to do it because the free agency is dog water. Like, it's so bad. You have to decide, do you want to just have would you just have a guy that is a placeholder long enough till Daniel Jones comes back? Because Daniel Jones is by far the best guy in free agency. Then after that, it's Malik Willis. It's Daniel Jones and Malik Willis. Everyone else, I like Trey Lance. I'd give Trey Lance a kick. as a backup and try to develop him. I'm not like, hey, Trey Lance, here's the keys to the castle of the Rams. I know that we were just in the NFC Championship game and all that, but you're our starter now. Like, no, I wouldn't do that. But like Mac Jones is an interesting one. Like, what's that going to look like? Like, are they going to trade him? I don't know what that looks like because I'm pretty sure he's still under contract for the 49ers. So would the Rams even trade with the 49ers? I don't even know if I'd want Mac. Like, I like Mac. I don't know if I'd want him. It's
hard
interesting.
to see the Niners trading in the division too, unless you're giving up prime draft capital back in return because they're helping out a rival essentially, in your situation with it. But I do look
think
at that
Justin
as
Herbert's going to end up in a Rams uniform someday. I felt
that'd
that
be
way
another
for a
one
long time.
Yeah, that's another one to look at as a possibility where you never know on their timeline where they're at with Harbaugh. And look, Harbaugh wants to run a run-centric offense anyway. So it's like him having a quarterback this is nice, but it's not like a necessity for Harbaugh. So I could see that as being one as well with you guys getting creative to that one. I've been thinking a little bit of that one as well. And he'd be a great
if I wasn't
boy.
so
he'd be scary as hell with McVay.
worried about Lamar's injuries, I'd probably say, yeah.
You can't run Lamar in this offense, Brody.
No. But I mean, if you got Lamar, it would be like we're doing something different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then it's like, how far away is McVay leaving what's the horse that's brought him in here on to try to accommodate Lamar? And I think that's part of the problem with Lamar right now in his game, and that it's been all about how can we accommodate to your skill set rather than you grow as an NFL quarterback and do typical NFL quarterback things in an era right now where quarterbacks are being asked to do more NFL typical quarterback things from a historical standpoint.
The Rams are less college than they used to be too. Because like they had Liam Cohen in 2022 and started bringing in more of we saw a lot of the pistol formation. They don't even do that anymore. But we were seeing a lot of the college concepts that Liam Cohen was bringing over from Kentucky, and he wasn't play calling, but it was his vision was starting to affect Sean McVay. And I'm not trying to hate on Liam Cohen, but that was the worst offense in Sean McVay's history as a head coach. So I'm not trying to go back to that. Love Lamar, can't stay healthy. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, wouldn't get Burrow because he can't stay healthy, and then be like, yeah, I'll get Lamar. I think Lamar's even worse because he's a running quarterback. So like, I don't know how long he's going to last. I still think he can throw from the pocket, but it's you're getting only a little bit of what you want. No one gets Michael Vick because of his arm. They get him because of his legs. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get Cam Newton because of his arm. You get Cam Newton because he's a dual threat quarterback. Getting Lamar Jackson, be like, I think he's a good pocket passer. No, I'm sorry. Like, I don't care how much you love Lamar. If he was told he can't run anymore, you're not getting Lamar. So I think, by the way, this is why Seattle made the right move, and Schneider deserves a lot of credit for, signing Sam Darnold, because I don't think enough teams were looking ahead the way Seattle was. I fully believe Seattle was looking ahead at next year, seeing that there's probably not going to be a lot of options. Sam Darnold is a good option, probably one of the better options you could have in a free agency class. And he's like, I'm going to jump on this. And then he was probably looking at the quarterback class and probably thought they were overrated. And he's right. They are very overrated. I like Mendoza more than I thought I was going to. But I'm not sitting here like, yeah, Mendoza. Stafford, you can retire. We're going to go and trade up and get Mendoza. No, I'm not.
He's a great story, dude. He's just, we're going to learn this with the pre-draft process. And when we watch him throw at the combine, people are going to see when they see him up against other quarterbacks, it's you're drafting for the story, and you're drafting for as much of what the leadership and the intangibles and a lot of this other stuff they're going to talk, the grittiness with him. And it's because the other stuff's not necessarily going to be there mobility wise. The arm stroke's going to be fine. There's some, for what they're talking about, number one overall pick, it's just gotten completely overboard. And the Rams did that, I would be laughing my ass off if you multiple first round picks to go up there and take Mendoza. But they're too smart to do something like that. There's no way in hell they would be. And I think that right now you bring up a good point about Sam, and that there's a market correction going on. And can you find value? Somebody's going to give Malik Millis probably more money than Sam got last year this offseason because he is that only guy available. But that's why I asked this question too, because I think it's also from a Ram standpoint, Stafford's likely to come back, likely not be an issue. But if it weren't to happen, there's not necessarily just automatic lever goes down and here we go right over to this. It just becomes a little bit, it gets a little complicated. And you got the Super Bowl made roster, and there's nothing worse in the world than have a Super Bowl made roster that's missing the quarterback from a functionality standpoint.
It would be Jimmy Garoppolo and Will Levis.
Well, it's fun.
Like
maybe McVay can get him. He's one of my quarterback misses. Levis, him and Lance are two of my misses in recent years. My rare misses of guys that I really liked him coming out.
I didn't like Will Levis at all, but I would take him.
I give him it was that Kentucky line. Man, the Kentucky offensive line was garbage, man. It was so horrible for him back there. But again, he may be garbage too with it. It just I gave him a little bit of like, well, he's getting demolished back there. There's a little bit he can do, but it hasn't been great for him as a pro. But I could see something like that.
Hasn't been great for the Titans though either. So that's.
But the Titans, the Titans line, he was same line there.
The connection with Matt LaFleur, maybe they weren't just talking on the phone about how do I beat Ben Johnson. Maybe it was like, hey, Malik Willis, give me your thoughts on him. Would he work in my offense? I mean, I think he would. I just don't think I'm trying to pay Malik because I think I would rather go with the injury-prone star quarterback trade in Joe Burrow than pay Malik Willis $40+ million when I don't know if he's ready to be a starter. I think it's just kind of projection, and it's like you said, it's just where the market is. Well, I don't want to pay the market price, so I might just go back. I think I would probably go with Jimmy Garoppolo, Will Levis. That's probably what I would do. I'd have him battle it out in camp. I would trust Sean McVay's offense, and I think with a full offseason preparation with those two, you'd find your starter one way or another. And I think with Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams and Blake Corum and this offensive line, pretty much everybody's back except for Stafford. I think it really just kind of tailors how you're going to call a game. I think there are a lot of things that Sean McVay almost in a way, and understand what I'm saying about this because Stafford is the MVP and I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I almost feel like Sean McVay gets cocky because he has Stafford. Like if he calls the game way differently than when he had Jared Goff, like it's almost like, oh, I know I'm Matthew Stafford. He's just gonna bail it out, right? I think he'd call it way different if he had Jimmy Garoppolo under center or if he had Will Levis under center. So Will Levis is coming off a season-ending shoulder surgery that happened before the season. So I'm not saying like I'm ready to throw him under center. I'm saying that would be the quarterback to go out and sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think they would start Jimmy Garoppolo. But I wouldn't have any expectations at that point. Like I would be like, I think that they can go to a playoff game, but I wouldn't be like Super Bowl because I see people in the comments are like, oh, homer. Like no, you would have every right to call me a homer if I was like Jimmy Garoppolo and Will Levis are going to win the Super Bowl. That's enough. But I don't think that's anything I'm going to have to worry about because I think Stafford's playing at least another year, probably another 2 years, and maybe 3 years.
I definitely see that being the likely way. And another guy we can mention in the boat, never know what goes on with Stroud in Houston too. So this could be a weird, with that offseason, the timeline there where another guy you put him with McVay and it's like set sail on the open seas, man. You guys are flying at that point. But look, all null and void, Stafford's coming back. It's just something to consider, and I think it'd be interesting with you guys because I do think you're in that position and you have that kind of roster, and it's a predicament a little bit. We've seen that with other teams, and they always haven't had the easiest way of getting their way, squirming their way out of that. That's it. Especially as the quarterback class is kind of what it sort of is, and where you don't want to have a guy learning the ropes. You don't when you're ready to have a roster like that. It's like people ask me about our OC replacement if Kubiak goes. Like I want a guy that's had success and has done it before and has had success in the NFL because this is going to be a well-oiled machine. I don't want to have a part of the machine where it's like we're going to try this prototype aspect. We're going to click in here that's never done it and learn their way. No. I keep the machine rolling, right? Keep it going.
Who would you go after?
It's probably going to be a place that's not going to have other fans excited. It would be an Arthur Smith or Mike McCarthy.
Wow.
I'd be open to a Zach Robinson with the Falcons coming off of what he did, but he wouldn't be my number one guy. But those guys, I think they come in here, and I think that it's less about the ceiling of the coordinator that comes in here, and it's more about the floor, especially understanding that this is a defensive-driven team that runs the ball, that has great special teams. Is it nice to have an offense that can be top five? Sure. Is it nice to set a points record for the team this year, and partly because the offense doing what it did? Yeah, it's great, but it's not going to be a necessity of this team to find Super Bowl success in the future, in my opinion. We need somebody that doesn't get lost in their floor, or I don't know where my floor's at. I need the floor up here. And then we can go from there. And those guys coming in, I think, would do so. Arthur Smith, I think, has been given a bad shake over his last 3 stops. Went to Atlanta, wasn't given a quarterback. It's kind of important for an offensive-minded head coach, isn't it? It's kind of necessary. Then you go to the Steelers and you're giving Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and the Jets are about to parse off Justin Fields and eat $20 million to get him out of town, say nothing of where Russell's at right now. And then you come back this year and you've got an Aaron Rodgers who's heavily diminished from what he was, pass protection that can't hold up front, nor can they create holes in the run blocking game. DK Metcalf, who looks uninterested for some of this season, a large part, not much else. I think that's a guy that's a little bit underrated when you look at what he did with Tannehill, the other quarterback that he's been given, by the way, in his time. He had that Tannehill playing great. He had that offense humming, so I look at that and I go, yeah, I think he could come in here and I think he could do a really good job and get this running game on point and keep it to the blueprint. That's that blueprint I talk about. It ain't a sexy one, dude, with it. But again, your Rams want to run the same thing, I believe. And you talk about McVay, and this is the thing that I don't get with him, is he's so smart at being at the forefront. 1,000 pounds of beef on the interior of the offensive line in free agency, then drafting Avila in there as well, right? And we got the two good backs, and we're going to commit to running inside versus those teams that are all outside zone and parameters that is so smart. Man, that's just because the game with the cover two shell and the light boxes and how that just lends in well. And then we get to the rubber meeting the road, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to run a little bit. Some, but like you said with Stafford on the whole, I got a miracle man back there. I want to use my miracle man. I want him blessing Fields, It's like, but you set it all up, buddy. You set the whole thing up right there. It's right there. Just there you go.
I think for you guys, I think I would probably go with Joe Brady. Because I think the Bills
Joe's possible, but he's not. I don't think he's as much out the outside. It's more that shotgun RPO stuff that he worked off of with Josh, and that's where
true.
You're not going to have Sam Darnold keeping RPO keepers off the edge. And I get why I work for Josh, but I don't want to live in shotgun. I want to live under center. That's where I want to be at. I want to be outside zone. I want to go because when you reset everything, now you're hitting the zero button on all this. So any of what you built up this year in that detailed driven scheme of this outside Shanahan-like scheme that's not easy to learn, takes a little bit of time. You're now taking yourself back to kind of a 0 hour. And that'd be like the fourth different offensive scheme in 4 years or something like that for the Seahawks at that point too.
What about, and I'll end it after this and then we'll get to Supers. What about Bobby Slowick? Because I'm going to point out CJ Stroud has looked like not even the same quarterback since Slowick left. I mean, he was there for his rookie year and then he left and then he's a passing game coordinator, I believe, for Miami. But since he's been gone, CJ Stroud has just fallen off a cliff. We looked at the situation talking about this offseason with Houston coming into it on the roundtable. And to me, this is the narrative thing that comes out of these playoffs that drives me crazy. And this drives me crazy with the quarterback outlook. It's obviously revolved a lot around Sam, but it's just a bigger problem that I've had by and large for about a year and a half in our discussions, not you and I, but just in the roundtable discussions. I saw Stroud, to your point, I like Soak, so I'm potentially mildly interested. I don't know if he brings the staff background. One of the nice things with Kubiak is he's got the staff too, right? He's got the connections. It's not just the guy you're getting play caller, but what kind of staff he can build behind him that he's bringing in behind him with his connections. And I don't know if Slowick's got as much of that. But I do think with Stroud, I just come back down to you put an offensive line together that I would describe as dog water. Yeah.
And this was and last year it was awful. And then you went to putrid. And I just go, everyone could see this coming from miles out. And it's hard for me to come back to Stroud now. And you know what I've said this week, what'll happen here is you'll have actually legit bad throws of a quarterback in that moment, like in this playoffs where it's like, well, that wasn't pass protection. He just made a crap throw. And it's like, yeah, it's the cumulative effect. I do this to you game after game after game. This is what I'm doing to you at the quarterback position. Every time you drop him back.
Yeah.
Now when I get to week 15, now when I get to 2 years into week 15 of the second year of that happening, suddenly I'm seeing the ghosts. Suddenly that I'm not operating with that free looseness that you saw me 2 years ago when I was into game one that I was operating with. And that's why I hate it so much when I see it, because not only does it inevitable that's going to happen, but then everybody's narrative to it, I'll see where you stand on this, where maybe I'm off, but everyone's narrative then goes to it and says, see, he was really it was a mirage. And what he did in that first year was just, that's just him just getting lucky that first year in competition and bop, right? Where do you stand on that?
Well, the offense misses Tank Dell. I'll say that a lot, because I think a lot of what CJ Stroud wants to do is push the ball down the field. And I think, Tank Dell being that just lightning rod that you can just throw it. Oh, throw it down there. Tank Dell will be there somewhere. It doesn't matter how small he is. He's just going to come up with the football. They missed him this year. Then the offensive line, they like had a really good offensive line. Then they trade away their franchise left tackle for reasons I don't understand. And they just kind of like messed around with it. But now I feel like the damage has been done. Like, I don't know if Stroud is, I think he's just lost all confidence. He's going to need somebody to bring that back. And I just don't know. I don't know if DeMeco Ryans is the guy for that. And that's not to say that DeMeco Ryans shouldn't be the head coach, because I think he's one of the best head coaches in all of football. I think he's going to need to probably go somewhere else. I don't know if it's going to work out in Houston. And I don't know if that's the answer Houston fans want to hear, but, you know, I don't know why they fired Bobby Slowick, to be honest with you. And, to the point, like you were asking, like, I don't know if you would be able to bring in guys. He's got that whole Shanahan tree. Like, he was there for a long time with Shanahan. He was like Shanahan's right-hand man. Like, he was there 2017. Then he gets a job in 2023 as the offensive coordinator. His quarterback wins the offensive rookie of the year. And then I don't really know what happens. I mean, they fired him in 2024, and then he goes and he has to take a senior passing game coordinator job with Miami. I don't know. I have no idea what happened with him, but I think he has a lot of connections, and that's definitely a guy that could put together a staff. He was also part of that Washington Redskins staff, that like one of the greatest staffs ever. McVay and Shanahan and Slowick was just chilling there, and McDaniel and all those guys. So yeah, I think he'd be your best option, honestly. I do.
It's a possibility, certainly, to keep the scheme. That's my main thing, is I want to scheme in a guy that's called plays. So it does check those boxes for me, as far as that. I need that prerequisite. Some Hawk fans are like, oh, go for this guy's never called plays, or go for that guy that's going to call plays. Maybe we'll just take your LaFleur. Maybe we'll just grab yours. He's not getting to call plays. So we'll just be like, hey, you get to call plays here.
You could.
Come on over, buddy.
You absolutely could. Certainly possible.
Weaken you guys down a little bit, strengthen us.
I'm expecting him to go to the Titans, because time is a flat circle, and they took one LaFleur to go and have him call plays and become a head coach. And I think Mike LaFleur got a really bad rap. I mean, anybody that was attached to the Jets did. So, yeah, I could see that. Maybe you guys will go and get
about the last 40 years with the Jets. Shieldhouse.
No, he's gonna follow Shula if he's not hired as a head coach.
Probably so. Probably be out there wherever Shula is going to go. More jobs keep opening up every day, man. Half the league. And you mentioned about it. One little low key storyline to this offseason is that I think the rich get richer, because what you're going to have here is you have teams like us that are set, stabilized, roster set, stabilized. And what happens when you turn over these coaches in different places, turn over general managers in these different places? Well, this guy's a good player, but he doesn't fit my scheme. Well, that guy's still a good player, but he doesn't fit our scheme for what exactly we want to do. Just send him away. They're not maximizing their value in that moment for those players. Teams like us then go, well, he fits our scheme.
Yeah. Or if he doesn't, we're good enough coaches that we can just make it work. And by the way,
we'll find you.
I like that you mentioned that, because everyone's talking about it like, oh my God, 10 head coach firings. It's unprecedented. Isn't this great? Like, this is crazy. We love news. We love chaos. It's awful. I think it's a terrible look on the NFL. I really do. I think the league is in deep shit, truthfully. I think we're probably going to see the same, and we see it every year, right? Like, for the most part, it's the same 14 teams in the playoffs, and, minus 2, 3, 4 teams. I think we might see -2 next year, -3. It's getting bad. Like, the cream rises to the top to the level of, like, it stays there. Like, it's just, that's where it is. Like, these guys are staying there. The Chiefs will probably be back in some capacity. The Lions will probably have a shot, although they hired Petzing, which is hilarious. But don't you see that? Like, I feel like this is a really bad look for the league right now. This is telling me, when I see Andy Reid is obviously he's the number one coach in terms of tenure. Number 2 was a 3-way tie. Now it's a 2-way tie, because McDermott just got fired, which I don't care how you feel about, McDermott, 9 years, they didn't win the Super Bowl, whatever. I think also we're acting like winning the Super Bowl is just supposed to happen. The Bills never do that anyway. So, you know what I mean? Like, but Shanahan and McVay are tied for the second longest tenured coach in the league. That's an unhealthy league right now. That's what it is. You're going to have coaches that are hired that are nowhere near ready, because teams now are just going to be, I mean, I just saw the montage video with the Raiders. It's a joke. The last 3 hires, the GM and the head coach. And it's a joke because the montage video shows it's the same room, same presser, and it's Mark Davis going, yeah, and this is a really good day for Raider Nation. We're gonna, we're bringing in Pete Carroll, or oh, this is a really good day for Raider Nation. We're bringing in Antonio Pierce. This is a really, dude, like you're hiring, you're firing. They're not giving these guys chances to develop. And I also think there are trees around here that they didn't do their job. Like I look at Sean McVay, I look at Shanahan. These are guys that are building trees. You look over with Harbaugh. You have Denard Wilson, Anthony Weaver is interviewing for head coaching jobs, McDonald. You have like a guy like Mike Tomlin. I don't think he has anybody in his coaching tree. And there's like too many guys like that around the league. Like Reed had guys that maybe I'm not the biggest fan of, like Eric Bieniemy or whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of Matt Nagy, but those are guys that are part of his tree and they've gone other places and they've had success. I mean, Nagy was runner-up to, I don't know how, but he was runner-up for the Titans job. Like this is a concern of mine with this league because I think it eliminates the parity of it, truthfully. And especially, Brandon, when you have a quarterback class like this, it's not like you're going to be able to be like, oh, we got lucky, we got Joe Burrow. It's gonna force teams to really have to build like they've never built before. And the top teams are just going to stay on top, I think.
I think it's the disposable quarterback model that so many teams apply. Let's draft a quarterback in the first round. That didn't work. All right, let's throw him away, go to the next one. All right, that didn't work. Throw him away, go to the next one. I think it's starting to bleed in a little bit into this coaching thing in the amount of teams, to your point, that are just swiftly moving off and not trusting and giving things time to develop, and that it either is supposed to set sail from the jump or it doesn't. I think something that maybe makes this problematic is you take a Shanahan or you take a McVay or you take a McDonald and they have instantaneous success. So it just starts to go, well, that's the rule of thumb, rather than, no, those are 3 really special coaches. No, that's the rule of thumb. And I think this is where we go to it creates problematic decisions and choices and hitting the reset button constantly, and how that just does nothing for you to build the culture, not to mention reputation throughout the league. Players aren't going to want to go to these environments when they know you're going to maybe move off of a coach within a year. It's not getting better. And I think next year, we saw this year the disparity between wins and losses and the teams at the bottom and the top. And I think it is going to only reinforce next year. I'm not even convinced the Chiefs team comes back, because when does Mahomes come back next year? When are they going to have a quarterback? Yeah. And where's that roster at? It ain't like it's like, well, whoever the quarterback is gets a loaded roster in an easy division. So those days are kind of done out there. So I think it's right. I think they always say it's 6 different teams every year. I think you're right. 2 sounds about more right for next year, when it comes down to it. And it's really going to be one of those teams like a Detroit that just maybe happens to barely miss versus a Chicago team that maybe got in this year. It's not going to be a team that I think comes up from the bottom to the top, type of thing, Drake style a little bit,
Like Washington panicking that they get to the NFC title game with a rookie quarterback and then they have injuries and they can't just admit, you know what, this just isn't our year. We started off the year, Austin Eckler had the season-ending injury on the first drive of the game. No, you can't admit it. We have to go and start pointing the fingers and asking Dan Quinn, are you sure you know what you're doing? You need to fire this guy. You need to fire this guy. It's like,
true.
And it's a new ownership too. So, there's just, I don't know. I'm honestly tired of seeing it because I like when the league is healthy. And right now I feel like it's a very unhealthy league. It's why poor Mac Jones has to go and, take that job with the 49ers and say, I just got a PhD in football, because who else around the league is going to help him out? It's just the top teams. If I was any of those quarterbacks, I would be praying to sit behind a Matthew Stafford, to sit behind a Sam Darnold, to sit behind a Brock Purdy, to sit any of these top teams, truthfully, because would you rather be them or would you rather be Cam Ward, who is the real deal, I might add? And you saw him. I saw him. Both of our teams went up against him. I watched him all year. A lot of fun. Probably the most fun I've watched, a football game this year that wasn't having to do with the Rams or the NFC West was that game that was meaningless, but him versus Tyler Shuck was a blast. I mean, that Saints-Titans game was amazing. And then he gets hurt. And it's like, he has nothing to work with, right? It's frustrating. And they fired his head coach in week 4. It's like, So now this guy already, before his career even got going, he's going to have a second play caller. And now he's going to have a third play caller because obviously we know that second guy on a bad team is not going to get retained. So 3 different offensive coordinators, boom, right away. That's just how that's a recipe for failure. I saw it with Sam Bradford. Different reason. Pat Shurmur goes and gets the head coaching job for the Browns, but Bradford goes from his rookie year, rookie of the year. He wins the rookie of the year with Pat Shurmur as offensive coordinator. Then they go out and get Josh McDaniels. Then everybody gets hurt because Josh McDaniels has a really complicated offense that takes a lot of different things into account, and they just didn't have the personnel for it. They also just had a lot of injuries in general. That falls apart. They fire him. There's just all sorts of coordinators that now, I think Bradford worked with 7 in his career, maybe more. That's just not conducive to developing a quarterback into what he's supposed to be. And maybe he was supposed to be what he ended up being, but who knows? Would he be in a better situation if he started off the rip with a Sean McVay or a Kyle Shanahan? I'd have to imagine yes. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's bad right now in the league, and hopefully it gets better. And I would say maybe we shouldn't be complaining. It makes it easier for teams like ours that are already not blessed.
Feast factor,
yeah.
Jake.
You're well, to the point of that, so much of being a dynasty has to do with the fact there's going to be a team that you can just pound on. Mm-hmm. And playing in the AFC East, the way the Patriots and Tom Brady were able to do. And honestly, for a little bit, the AFC West was pretty weak, because you had the Raiders, Broncos weren't sure what they were doing. They were paying $89 million for Russell Wilson to get the hell out. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Who else? So, yeah, you're on the ball there. But let's get to supers. Because I need to get some financial advice from Wu-Tang Financial. That's coming over from Brando's channel. Thank you for the 2. One of these teams is winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, I believe so.
It's just the way it's going to go. It's it's two different styles of teams going up there versus what we're dealing to the other side, the AFC side, and good for New England, plucky story, and too bad for Denver losing Knicks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that's going to hurt New England is that all 3 of the 4 have really good pass rush, and New England's pass rush looked good, and it's going to surprise people. Against the Texans, but I just don't think that's going to translate to the next round.
That's
why I think Stidham has a shot. By the way,
who's the first they in the first round one they had was a craptastic offensive line. The Chargers. No Rashawn Slater out there on the edges either. So it's it's looked a lot better playing at home with crappy offensive lines. It's not going to be the same thing going against these 2 offenses in the Super Bowl and with either. So it's whole different monster at that point.
And May he has not looked the best. We'll just say that he has felt the pressure.
Surprised. He starts to have to play tough teams instead of cupcakes, and it looks a lot different, don't it? So it's
one thing I'll mention: New England has never won in Denver in the postseason. They're 0-4, and Jarrett Stidham, his first career start was against the 49ers. Good team at the time. They had 11 wins later in the year. But this wasn't the last game of the year, so they weren't sitting their starters. Stidham went 23 of 34 for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So, I don't know.
Maybe. I'll tell you, you'll be licking your chops if you get a play, or I'll be licking my chops if you get a play Stidham. But I will say, Mile High, one of the reasons that they do so well as much as anything is that air, and that playing in that altitude is no joke for those players, and it's hard. You can't really prepare for it. Going to gas you out at times, and that can play a factor deep into the season for sure.
And they've finished games, and I think they only lost 1 game all year at Malaha, so we'll see. Ruiz, Puka is right. Thank you for the 2 coming from my channel. Cap and Shirt 2.0 asks for lamb chop. Brando, you get lamb. Bach.
There we go. That's good. I got the fork and knife.
I don't even know what's happening. Ruiz, appreciate the super. Our friend Megan.
What's up, Megan?
This is coming from your channel. Megan, how's it going? Greetings, boys. We'll be watching the game from Sydney and cannot wait. Should be brilliant, and I'm expecting a Hawks win as always, but I will save my gloating until next week.
Ooh, there we go. Wait, maybe we're down to Australia, Rams, Seahawks, Australia maybe next year. She's hearing some heat down there in Aussie land that might be the case. I might have to travel. I might have to talk you into traveling down with me. We might have to go to Australia next year there. Come on, it's only a 37-hour flight for you, buddy.
Just keep me far away from what I've been told. I don't know. Maybe Megan can attest to this, but I've heard that their spiders are as big as dogs.
Oh, everything's trying to kill you in Australia. That's the whole thing.
I don't know if I with the way my heart is, I don't know if I can handle that.
We'll go with Megan. Will keep us in the safe places. She'll keep us. She'll keep us out of the wild lands.
Maybe it ends up being the round table event.
I think that'd be awesome. We could talk them into it. That'd be great.
They're literally, no one would be able to match that. Like if you do a roundtable event in another country, I mean, everybody's toast.
Dude, we'd be, the amount of views would be on that thing. Like
it's crazy.
I'd go through the roof.
Appreciate you, Megan. Peter, go Hawks. Appreciate the 2 from your side. Opposite team logo tattoos across the neck.
People, Hawk fans right now feeling themselves with the poem bet coming down that pike, and after getting you in the beanie and then they're really feeling themselves on this bet from Jake. They're going to come at you tonight. Expect it in these chats. I've been trying to say, hey, I don't think he's going to want this, but they've been
I'm not.
It keeps ramping up, brother. It keeps ramping up.
I'm not a superstitious person, but I feel like I'm just gonna keep it easy on the bet this time. We did the bet last time. I'm not getting ahead of my skis here.
Where's the beanie at, by the way? Is that a nice safe spot? You keeping it warm?
Yeah. Just in case.
You just never know.
I get cold, Appreciate the 2, Peter. Seattle, thank you for the 2. Over on Brando's side, Purdy was 4-0 in Seattle too. Look what happened. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's kind of like what I was saying it as part of what I was saying at the intro, is that there's a lot of these. I mean, I remember the Rams were undefeated with this one ref when he reffed the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and everyone's like, oh, just bet all their money on the Rams. Patriots have no chance. And I'm like, how did we get to this point where now people think the Patriots are getting screwed out of a Super Bowl? I don't understand what has happened, but they ended up losing. The Rams are 7-0 when what's his face? Blanket Clay Martin is the official. He is officiating this game. But I've seen that go multiple ways. Seattle's 4-3. I also think a lot of that is just kind of like, I was going through some of the refs, man. Some of these stats are wild. Like there's a ref that like the Rams have never won when he officiates, but they had the fewest penalties called them in that game. And then like they're 7-0 when Clay Martin officiates, but the Rams have had the most penalties out of the games that they've played 4 times in those games. So, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like sometimes, I don't know, it just goes a certain way. One thing I found funny is that the Rams are 9-1 all time when Clay Martin is any part of the field as an official, not just a head official. Their only loss was to Sean McVay, offensive coordinator at Washington Redskins.
There we go. He just loves Sean, man. I think I hope it doesn't factor in. I don't think it will. I think what I love about these NFL playoffs that stood out to me is that they're letting these teams play, with the exception of the last drive between Buffalo and Denver, which just pissed me off. And I'm going to feel so bad for Zebot tonight. And we got to give that guy a lot of warm love tonight, because he's going to be, I'm sure, still going through it. 2 seasons in a row now where his last game with Allen in that window that's shrinking has had the refs coming into play in a game in a pretty major way. And I hated that, because it's like, let them play that same standard throughout the course of the game. And even in your game, look, somebody coming down that side and go, oh, Rams 0 penalties. Okay, look, Carolina only got 3 penalties. That's what I want. I just want to let them play through and let the players decide. Is it going to mean we're going to have moments in this game where he's up there, he's grabbing? Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of that, because that's the price you pay versus going to the line if we're playing it to the letter of the law. But I like that the NFL has leaned into these playoffs saying, we're going to let the players decide this. We're not going to get in here and over officiate this crap. Let them decide it. And I hope they do that this upcoming week too.
I agree completely. It's why I thought Sean Hockley had the best officiated game I've seen all year. I thought that game was great. There were moments in the game where like Rams fans were looking for a push off on the Komet play, didn't want it, didn't think it was necessary. They were looking for a leverage call at the end of the game, didn't want it, didn't think it was necessary. There was a hands to the face that could have gone on both sides. I know, what was it? I think it was Kobe Turner hit Caleb Williams in the head, and then Matthew Stafford gets hit in the head. It's like, well, come on, guys. You weren't complaining when Kobe got away with hitting. You can't complain now that Stafford does. You know what I mean? So I totally agree with you. I think that's how it should be. Now, if it's blatant pass interference, fine. And you can't just be like, well, it's late in the game. We'll let him get away with it. If it's blatantly obvious where a guy goes to the ground, like, I think I thought the Patriots-Texans game, I thought it was a little New England favored at the end of that one. And the jury's still out on if that official was trying to actually get the flag out of his pocket and just said, you know what? I look like a fool. I'm not even going to throw the flag at this point. The Higgins one. I don't know, but because a lot of people seem to believe that's what it was. But I agree with you. For the most part, that's how it should be. And by the way, those are the spoils of getting into the playoffs. Is that not what we're really talking about? You get a chance to actually play football for the first time all year, where it's like you can get screwed on calls. I mean, the Saints got screwed on the call against the Rams. I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't, but like, you can get screwed on calls. But like, typically speaking, it's going to be like, let them play. That's part of the spoils of getting into the playoffs. That's why you want to get in the playoffs. You're more likely to decide the outcome. Not saying it's 100% all the time, but yeah,
it's not perfect. It's just the best brand of football for really determining the winner, in my opinion, versus trying to letter the law, which just allows for over officiating and allows for them to come in and have too much impact on the game.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The Lord's Disciple 777 coming from Brando's channel. Jake, who do you think is playing better at the moment? I think it's Seattle. I have no issue saying that. I think the Rams are playing a different style of football. That's what makes this game so interesting to me. And I think people are going to really miss the plot in this one because there's going to be predictions that are out in left field, like 37-34. I don't think it's going to be that type of game, Brandon. I think this is going to be in the 20s. I think it's going to be a hard-fought football game. I think the thing that the Rams are doing right now that kind of evens the playing field with the way the Hawks are playing is that they've been taking care of the football and they've been, doing a nice job of finishing games, which is something that they've really struggled to do this season. They're now starting to play their best football as far as that goes. Their special teams is better. Their coverage has gotten a little bit better. I mean, it's not quite where it was at the beginning of the year, but it's gotten better. And then they got, both sides are pretty damn healthy. So I think we're going to get a pretty close game. I'm still mulling the final score prediction that we'll give at the end of this one. It's kind of spinning around in my head.
There's a lot to turn over in this one.
Mark Sanchez, who must use all his commissary money on Wi-Fi at this point, appreciate you 5 over on Brando's channel.
No cigarettes tonight.
I wanted this because if you want to be the best, then you got to beat the best. And the Super Bowl winner will be the team that wins this game. I agree completely. And that's how I felt. One thing for sure, I never wanted to avoid this game. Like there were Rams fans that are like, yeah, I don't know if I want to play. I'm like, I want to play everyone. I want to play the Eagles. Like that was the funny thing. Like when Jesse was like, this is wishful thinking. Are you kidding me? I want to play the weakest Eagles team that we've seen in quite some time. And I want to get revenge. And I want to rip their hearts out. I'm glad the Niners did, but like I wanted to do that. That team didn't scare me at all. And I find it rich how like a bunch of Eagles fans are like, well, we would have done better in Seattle. No, you wouldn't have. How would you have done better? You have no offense to speak of. Like the 49ers actually have an offense and the Seahawks shut it down. You don't have an offense. Like, Seattle would have been able to have everything like under the microscope because it's like, you guys don't have anything. We'll shut down AJ Brown and Devontae. How are you going to do anything? You're not running with Saquon. See, that's the thing that I find funny is that there's always like a fan base of a team that lost that tells you that like, yeah, well, we would have done better. It's like, I don't think so. Maybe I don't see it. I think Seattle would have just run roughshod of the Eagles. Just the way they play, I don't think it would have been close.
Well, Eagles were trying to play that game that people like to play, which is that you're somehow going to be something else when you get in the playoffs. Like, oh, now we really turn it on. Yeah. You know, like we're cruise control through the regular season, but now we know
Never
what's required. We've been here before. Like, no, you are within the regular season what you are going to be in the playoffs. It does carry over, and that's why I also believe that playing your best football does have a measure of importance here, because it will carry on through. It doesn't just go, well, now it just kind of like comes to a stop because it's the playoffs. You know, if you're building on something and you're going in a way, that's how you kind of get to that. This is why, to your earlier point in the show about McVay playing those stars at the end of the year, he recognizes this as well coming off the Seattle game. Like, okay, we got knocked a little bit off our hitch there with it. Not that we broke them, not that they never know. Like, again, let's nuance this, let's gray area this, but that I got to recapture that spirit as we go in the playoffs. I've got to risk even maybe a little bit of these guys to the injury front and have stars play a little longer and re-get this back, because that's an important thing to have going into the playoffs. And that's something the Eagle fans certainly didn't understand, but are we surprised when it comes to Eagle fans? I mean,
No, we're not. We're not. Yeah. I'm not surprised about Chicago fans now with the whole Dome Boy and all these AI. Thank God I don't have to look at any more of these terrible AI generated images of Caleb Williams and his fingernails being painted, stabbing, Matthew Stafford. Like, it's just like, what am I looking at? Like, why was this on my feed? Why did I have to go through that? Well, luckily I don't have to do it anymore. That was brutal. Brando, it was a tough week. It was the Rams versus the Bears versus the Weather Channel. I mean, it was, you couldn't even enjoy it.
I had to deal with 49er fans last week, bro. Don't talk to me. I had to deal with 49er fans. You know what that road's like.
But I mean, we now have this whole, I'm starting to get used to, oh, it would be their best win in 15 years. I'm tired of the best win 15 years happening against my damn team, okay? The Lions fans were obnoxious. The Bears fans were obnoxious. Like, I'm over it. Like, you guys go away. Yeah. So that...
All you're doing is celebrating losing.
Yeah, it was... Oh, my God. And then, like, I mean, literally anything under the sun that, like, if you predicted the Packers, like I did, because I thought the Packers were going to win, if you predicted them to win, you weren't even taking a dog in the race. You weren't saying I'm rooting for the Packers. You weren't saying I hate the Bears. Bears fans would be like, oh, how do you feel now? And I was like, literally everything had to go right for you. I mean, it was I give you a lot of credit, but good Lord. Do you know, like I do the whole like receipts thing. And I mean, you see me on social media. I'll quote tweet when people come at me about stuff before the game, and I'll be like, oh, how do you feel now, or update or whatever. But I'm not like the last thing I'm doing after the Rams win that game, where they just survive a game that they go up against just immense pressure and immense momentum on the other side, and they find a way to win. The last thing I'm doing is talking trash. I'm like tipping my cap to the other team. Like, that was a really freaking good game. And I'm also thankful that they pulled it off. Like, I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to tell people that they suck. Like,
that's more, I'm the same way. I'm more like, even after this Niner game we had, it's like, no, I'm just like, hey, we got through. This is the playoffs. It's like survive through, get to the next round. It's everything's do or die. And
exactly,
the stakes couldn't be larger.
It's true. Dylan, over on your channel, thank you for the 5. Seattle had so much success running the ball against San Fran in the last 2 games, dominated in trenches. How likely can Seattle repeat that against LA? That's a great question.
I don't think we're going to match the same thing to the Niners, because the Niners, part of what's going on with them was the weakness of that defensive line. And part of that comes from the dead money they ate this offseason with Malik Collins, and Hargrave's never been good against the run in about the last 6 years, but that's still a guy you lose as a body. I think Alfred Collins, rookie, was good early on in the year. I think he started to wear down as the year went along. Michael Williams out. That was a guy that, as much as what he got pass rush wise, he was a good run defender from the jump for them. And so the combination of all that loss, CJ West, rookie, starting down there, I the linebacking core down, and off-ball linebackers down. That's where we were able to really make our headway, I think. And as much as we got this, just simplified the game plan down, just like hammer the run game. We're not going to be able to necessarily do that against the Rams. Some balance is going to be required. The key is going to be just as much, don't get into running too much, or get away from running the ball too much, like we did in the first matchup, where you're just right out the chute trying to throw on this Rams team and trying to pack them up. But no, make them stop the run. Force them to first show they can do that before you start trying to decide you got to throw a little bit too much?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very similar to what like the Bears did to the Rams. I think if Charbonnet was playing, I think you would have seen that kind of 3.5 yards per carry range, where I think like with Kenneth Walker, you'd probably be like close to 4.5. That's kind of how I saw it. Now without Charbonnet, maybe Kenneth Walker dips down to 4.2, like he ran in week 11. I think having Quentin Lake back just helps them immensely in the run game. So I don't think they're going to be able to run all over them. Like they didn't run all over them because the game script got out of hand and they kind of had to play comeback. But, you know, that game, I mean, Walker had 100 yards rushing on 11 carries. So I just don't know if you're going to get that type of success out of him now that
it was
they're
just
pretty
the two
healthy.
big runs. It was the two big runs too that kind of pushed the day up a bit, right? The 55-yarder and then the 3rd and 17 that he got.
But they've really done a nice job of kind of holding the run in check. And, you know, when Quentin Lake was out, it got a little tough. When Quentin Lake and his replacement, Josh Wallace, were out, the one game against, you know, the Falcons, it was really bad. And, I mean, I still think they bottled up Bijan pretty well, but it wasn't just 2 runs. It was 4 big runs, and one of them was 90-plus yards. So it's like, you can't really say that, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but they still gave up over, you know, what was it, 200 yards from scrimmage or whatever.
Quinn Lake's been beat up a little bit by PFF the last 2 games since the return on the Carolina game. Is that fair? Is he actually playing pretty decent and they're just off on the grade, or is he still knocking some rust off?
He's knocking some rust off. I think Carolina's grade was a little harsh. I think it was almost like they went in with context. He's knocking rust off. So it's like, instead of like, oh, okay, we'll give him a break, we're like, oh, they were like sharks and, you know, there's blood in the water. Let's like drop him low. But I saw a better player this week all around. They were really targeting him in the receiving game last time, you know, with the Panthers game as most notable. Yeah, that was like 8 catches on 11 targets or something like that. It was pretty noticeable. This past week, so he gave up, I have the notes here in front of me. He gave up 3 catches on 7 targets for 25 yards. And the wild card round, he gave up, I think I was right on he was targeted like 11 times, I want to say. 8 catches, 11 targets, 94 yards. So, yeah, he was definitely a much different player this week. I had the most important play when you've mentioned it before. I don't know why guys try to hurdle when guys are standing straight up. But DeAndre Swift tries to hurdle over a completely standing up man, and he gets popped in the groin. And then Quentin Lake. Oh, dude. And then Quentin Lake destroyed him. So, yeah, Lake was really good in that game. And I think he's back to where he was. And I think the most important thing is that they have Poona Ford fully healthy, because the thing that makes the Rams different this year than last year, I mean, obviously they don't have Akello, and that sucks. That hurts their cornerback room. The biggest thing is the run game. They gave up over 200 yards to Saquon Barkley. Did they have a chance to win that game in Philly? They absolutely did. But they went home because Saquon Barkley put them in that position with his running game. If they continue to stop the run the way they have with Poona, with Quentin Lake on the field, and Nate Landman's been huge there too. Now, again, as we've talked about, it forces Sam Darnold into maybe a game that's a little bit more uncomfortable than him just being able to hand it off. And, you know, you have Cain running for 7 yards a carry or something, and it makes it a little bit easier, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that.
So, yeah, great question, Dylan. Matthew, over on my channel, appreciate the 20.
Applause for Matthew for the 20.
The tangerine. All right, guys, enough of the kissy shit. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. LOL, just kidding. Great content from you both. Jake, I've been watching some of Brando's watch party. Turns out he makes a good game call. Go Rams. Yeah, you have this thing where, because I was watching it too, you're like this calm, cool, collected guy. Like, you could almost be like having a discussion at a bar, but then you do it like it's so seamless where you'll just break it down like in real time. It's like, I'm chill, I'm having a good time. here's, yeah, I don't know why, like the casino blitz there, you have like, you're just breaking it all down, and I love it. I think it's great.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. I love doing it. It's my favorite thing, doing the play-by-play, and I'm trying to always get better at it and hopefully increase the entertainment value in the future years, because it is so much fun to do that, to be able to just sit there and cover it live like that and react to it. And I think next year I'll be doing more outside Hawk channels, trying to do like maybe a Monday Night Football or something like that every week on it, because it is so much fun.
I like that. No, I like that. I love doing it, but I don't get a lot of time like with my fam. So I typically just, and I've explained this before, but like why I don't do watch parties anymore is that really, like when Rams games are on, I'm trying to watch with my dad. I'm trying to watch with my brother, my girlfriend, my best friend. Like I've turned my best friend into a Rams fan. I've turned another one of my friends into a Rams fan. Like, now my girlfriend, her entire family now is rooting for the Rams. They're Giants fans. Not, in case they watch this, I know you're Giants fans, but they've been pulling for the Rams. So yeah, it's one of those things though, where it's like, I just try to enjoy it, but you can never have everything. That's what I've learned in content. It's like, it's why I get offered to go to all these games, and I'm like, I'd love to go, but at the same time, I have to be careful. If I go to too many, I'm not maximizing my guaranteed 17 weeks to essentially do my job and make money to last me until the next season. I mean, I know I cover the Yankees, but no,
it's the same way with me. Yeah. No, I'm the same way on people wanting me to go to games, and I go, I get it, but it's like, this is a big part of my year, and those play-by-plays I'm doing now, it's like, especially this year, it's like, for some reason this year, they're up into the 30 to 45,000 view range I had like that 30, like something like that on the one watching the your guys' game against the Bears. I'm like, really? I'm doing a Rams Bears game, and this is getting this, and it's like, yeah, you see that, and you go, man, all right. And I love doing it on top of it. So it's like that combination where you go, all right, I get what you're saying. The thing that it did for me, that it was, I turned into a vicious dog. Cause some of this was Carroll at the end of the regime there, where things were getting frustrated that just kept happening, that were just like, they're not fixing it. And so I would just I'd be watching games alone when I was off, and I'd just be, cussing and pissed. And it forces me doing the play-by-play now to tone it down. Sometimes I lose myself, because I can be an emotional man at times with that. But I found it made me it helped me in watching my games now, also doing the play-by-play, because I would get in my emotion. You talk about going on tilt and crashing out. It'd be like halfway into the quarter and a half into the game, I'm like, this team is trash. just angry.
I saw the 49er fans clipping the, oh, come on. Like was it week 1 with the interception?
Oh yeah.
Or the touchdown.
They love that. They love that reaction. There's sometimes it slips. That was me 24/7 watching. Motherfucker, go with a motherfucker. You bitch, son of a bitch. It's just like, I turned into Nick Nolte. You remember Nick Nolte?
Yes.
With him? So, like, that's just, you're never going to understand what he's saying. You hear just his inflections. Just,
it's so funny.
I always love Nick. You didn't have to say it. He just is nonverbal.
Peter, go Hawks over on your, on your channel. Thank you for the 2 Hawks 38-17.
Let's go, Peter.
Dark side rises. # new era begins. Oh man.
You know the power of the dark side.
Where did this dark side thing come from? I don't know how I feel about it.
Every great defense has a nickname. That's the way it works.
Good Lord. Yeah, I think the Rams had, what was it, Los Angeles and Mob Squad.
Everyone remembers that one.
Yeah, do they?
No.
Yeah, Mob Squad had been around for a while, but then they moved from St. Louis and people stopped calling them that. I don't know.
You got the greatest show on turf. You need to have that. There's something else inside.
Yeah. Just I don't know. I don't need a nickname. I know I don't like greatest show on surf. We can send that to oblivion.
No, you don't. That's the thing people do with the Legion of Boom 2.0. That's the great part about having a team that gets the nickname. It's hard to earn, by the way, is that it's unique. You don't do 2.0. You don't do some offshoot of the name. It's just that name, and it carries with them forever. And that's what makes it so unique and cool about it.
And everyone, I think every team has some variation of no fly zone. It just eye rolling.
Yeah.
Martin Lawrence. Wonder if it's actually Martin Lawrence. thank you for the 5 over on Brando's channel. Hope it's a great game. I want the Seahawks to win, obviously, but I hope we don't see it won for either team on a controversial officials call. I agree on that. We'll always agree on that.
Let the best team win. Let them decide.
Yeah. Dylan coming back out with the 2 CX Shaheed deep ground and return threat.
X factor, I think, is kind of what he's saying there with that.
Oh, okay,
and,
gotcha.
Yeah, he's a big X factor. I mean, you saw you even give him carries as a running back with Charbonnet out. It wouldn't surprise me getting him back there and putting back a running back from time to time. But you saw that tough end around, and you know how aggressive your defense sometimes can be at flowing the ball, and you send him this way in the outside zone, bring it back on a reverse the other way, and that's worked a couple of times with Sheed this year, using him in like that, in that fashion. So he's been a great player. Man. It was such a good move for us to bring him in. I shudder to think what the offense would look like without him. Even with some of the minimized impact of the passing attack, he's opened up some things for JSN with the coverages, and he's been a great addition.
Yeah, no, that was a smart move. Mark Sanchez, again, the commissary, going crazy here. I hope the refs stay out of this game for everyone. I agree on that. Totally agree on that.
Let them play, man. Let these are the two best teams in the NFL. Let them decide it out. Let them bang it out. Let this brawl go down. Everybody step away and let the brawl commence.
Yeah, absolutely. Detail-oriented Bobby, thank you for the 10 over on Brando's side. I said this before, but will again. Hawks playing as Team 12 as one. Rams depend on Stafford and Puka. Your offense is slightly better, but our offense and special teams are better. Advantage Hawks. I wouldn't say slightly better. I do think the Rams have a considerably better offense. Maybe not right now it looks that way, but I feel confident saying that. Just like I would say Seattle has kind of moved on to the point where their defense is significantly better. And I would say that they have the better run defense as well. As far as special teams, yeah, the Rams don't have a single return guy that inflicts damage the way somebody of his caliber can do, Shaheed. And then you have one of the best punters in football, and you have the best kicker, in my opinion. I don't need a guy that kicks 68-yard field goals if he can't hit a 50-yard field goal to win the game. That's my take on it. I think Cam Little's good, but I think it's a little bit of a novelty also. I just can tell you right now, Sean McVay would not kick a 68-yard field goal because he wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm going to give you that field position. There's no way.
Yeah, it's sort of silly. And again, that is just what you're putting your defense on. Might as well almost go for it at that point if you're going to be doing that better. But I think it's accurate. What you put that, I think, is accurate. And I think there's a lot of truth into where Bobby's operating from within this too. So we'll see how these play out. There's little advantages in there as well that add up on this playing at home. Where I do think some of that, how much you guys have played in the snaps and coming off that game last week and have to play on the road 3 weeks in a row now. Those bodies are going to be a little tired. Not that it's a differentiating factor. Again, trying to get into kind of just small, tiny advantages more than this like, well, it's just a big, no, but it's a factor, man. You 70 snaps on the back of Landman last week. That's like almost playing 2 games just about, from a snap count standpoint. So, especially as Farrar, at least against my Hawks, right? I'm looking at our guys with 30 snaps, 32 snaps. You're over here like Kobe Turner, 63 snaps. Holy Jesus. That's a lot of snaps, and especially playoff game snaps, because those things can sometimes take twice the mileage off the engine a little bit. But said there, Bobby.
Mentally, they're draining too.
They are.
Seahawks edits coming in with the 5. Jake, is that true that you said the Bears are better than the Hawks and they would crush us if we played them? If so, that's so delusional. No, I didn't think the Bears were better than the 49ers, to be honest with you. But I think anybody in that circuit, I think if the 49ers and Bears played in that snow, I think the 49ers might have had a shot of winning. I don't think they would have won because of all the injuries, but I think they would have had a shot. I think Seattle and the Bears goes down the wire. I just think it's like why, like Urlacher, I was watching that interview, and he's talking about why you can't make it like a dome. It's like, oh yeah, we should just get rid of it. No, he's like, this is our home field advantage. This is what equalizes, and you could say it's unfair, but everyone else can go and do it. Everyone else can go and do it. And by the way, it's not unfair because we earned it. We got the number 2 seed. We had the highest seed out of anyone that wasn't Seattle, and they had to come play in our backyard. They had to deal with our weather. So that's just the reality of it. It's the same thing with Denver with the altitude. Maybe that is a little unfair. The fact that Denver is the only, but still though, they're the ones that decided to build the stadium there. So I don't know if everyone would have done that in that situation. And they still have to deal with that too. They get used to it, but that's still, the altitude's pretty ridiculous. It's Mile High Field for a reason. So yeah, no, that is not true. I'm not surprised. Like, there are probably people going around saying that I've said stuff that I've never said before, including someone saying that I banned them, when I don't care enough when I'm doing my live streams to ban anybody in the chat. I don't care. So yeah, I didn't say that, but appreciate the super. Vermilion Cast, thank you for the 10 over on Brando's channel. Seahawk fan here wanted to say both teams are playing their ass off for the playoffs. It's going to come down to defense and special teams and some turnovers. Can't wait. Respect to the Rams. Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Seattle as well. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. It's going to be
I think it's
a great game.
Smartly said, Vermilion. And thank you for the donation, man. But yeah, absolutely. I think these two teams have earned the right to be here, which is a great part. The NFL is so unfair. I look at what's happened to the Bills in that game at the end. I go, man, that just doesn't feel fair. But it does feel right and fair that these teams have gotten their opportunity here to duke this out for the opportunity to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And that gets me even more jacked about the game, if that's possible.
Trung Du, thank you for the 2. Dark Side with the actual Dark Side spelling. The Dark Side villain. After this game, Hawks will be your father. We shall see. It is funny.
Rams, we are your father.
The what is it? The thumbnail that I put together was 1 win to rule them all.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so
there we go.
I'm going with more of a Lord of the Rings take, and
I like it.
You guys are going more of a Star Wars. I like both IPs a ton. So, yeah.
Well, solid.
SoCal Ram 88. Thank you for the 2. Brando's nightmare is back. Gonna win the NFC. He know. I love he know. He know.
He know.
Appreciate you, SoCal. Also, SoCal's coming in. Seattle wanted the Bears, not the Rams. I think that there are probably players that wanted the Bears, but I think that there are definitely players that have a competitive edge. Like, and I'm not saying everybody's like this, and I already know everybody's not built like this. There's some guys just like, this is just a job. There's some guys that love football. There's some guys, this is just a job. There's some guys that really love football. They love, give me anything. They're psychos. And I have to imagine the 2 best teams in the league have a lot of those psychos on their team. So I think the majority of the Seahawks and their fan base wanted to see the Rams because we want the best. To be the best, you want to beat the best. Rams have won a Super Bowl before. They're actually I think a lot of teams are going to be gunning for them because they're the last team that's remaining that has a Super Bowl win with this duo, coach and, quarterback. Like, if they get by, this one, it's like Drake May is punching up his weight class here. Like, he's never been in this moment before. Stafford won this, Same thing with I don't have to tell you, Jarrett Stidham has never been in any situation like this before. Sam Darnold's never gotten this far. So, he's not trying to go home. So it'll be fun. And yeah, that's how I would say it.
All right, pretty much the same point. If I got to pick, I'm glad it's the Rams. I like this. I've said about this through the whole playoffs. So if I've got the easiest path to go get a Super Bowl, I'm going to take it. I'm not one of those guys I want to go through a murderer's row of opponents to really prove my give me the trophy. If we got our choice between Stidham or Drake May, and then I could throw a third option of Mahomes and the Chiefs in their prime taking you on in the Super Bowl, which of those 3 are you going to take? Does that mean that you're scared of Mahomes and the Chiefs at that point, or is it that you're not a stupid man and you're going to take the easiest, most advantageous matchup for your team?
Yeah, exactly. M. Jordan, appreciate the 5 over on Brando's channel. B, you got to ask Jesse where he ranks his boys Stroud, Herbert now based on his playoff standard for good quarterbacks. They should be backups now, right?
12's trying to find a little bit of the consistency there on Jesse's argument with the whole quarterback thing. And of course, there's a little bit of a pass to Stroud and Herbert that's not applied I don't know how hard I can be on Jesse tonight. He's got to read a poem about his love for Darnold. I probably have got to dial a little bit of my own toxicity, no matter how much I want to do so, Jordan. I had to make him wear a hat last week. Now he's got to rate a poem. His team's out of the playoffs. I mean, the man's down. I've already kicked a couple times here. I'm like on my 10th kick. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my God. No, that's true. And we haven't even done that yet. We're going to be doing that shortly. So we can rip through these. Trung Du, thank you for the 5 Rams. You guys are good. Both GMs were wow. Neutral field, it's dead even. Lumen is a hostile tornado environment. Special T might tilt it. Thoughts? I mean, I think it really comes down to the run game. If the Rams are able to stop Kenneth Walker, I know, Brandon, I'm not trying to hate. I just have a feeling the Rams are going to force a turnover or 2 on Sam Darnold. And in a game that is this close, in my opinion, I think that'll be enough.
I think it's a fair take as far as the outlook goes. And to his point on this, the special teams, I said in the first matchup, and it showed up. I've said this a couple of times, that when you have 2 different special team units, they're kind of 2 ends of the spectrum as far as how they play. And it's not just the returns, the punts, the kick. It's how we defend kicks. It's how we defend punts. It's all of that. And then how we do it to the other side. That does rear itself. Does it make it the differentiating factor in this game? I don't think so. But does it mean that you have a play like we did in the last matchup where it can turn the momentum and shift things? Yeah, it absolutely can do that. So I think it will show itself up again somehow or another in this game. But I do think, as Jake just said, it will come down to more who can run the ball, who can limit the turnovers. I mean, these are the really 2 simplified things coming down. It's really based on a bit of the fact of how they play defenses. And these defenses kind of open a door for you to run the ball. Can you stay committed to it? Can you stay consistent to it? Can they beat you up on it? Can they hold the line with that light box? I mean, those are the things that really come down to it for me.
And to be fair to the special teams point, special teams has literally led to the outcome of both games. Missed field goal. If Mevis hits it, not getting on him, he just drilled one against, in that cold weather, whatever. But if he hits that field goal against Seattle, that comeback is just short in the second game. If Ethan Evans doesn't have the greatest punt you've ever seen in your life, that's probably not a 61-yard field goal. Now, is it? And also,
no.
If the best kicker in the league hits the 61-yard field goal, as unfair as that sounds, game's over. So it did come down to special teams on both sides. And then, of course, the return in the second game. If they don't give up that punt return, I don't think they had enough time to come back without a huge, quick, explosive. And they weren't really getting that. They got that with that. And I think after that, things kind of came unraveled and, you were able to get back in that game and eventually win it at the end. So, yeah, I think the special teams tilt is definitely real. It has been real in both games. Daniel coming in with the avatar of Jesse wearing I've seen that more, by the way, on YouTube. Like, quite a few people are rocking that. Pretty wild. I don't think Rams score more than 17 if no turnovers. Well, okay.
Impossible.
That's interesting.
I think it's possible. We can see. It's a good defense. And look, that first matchup, you're limited down. Part of McVay falling in that tendency of getting away from the run in that first matchup and trying to get 2 pass happy. Part of us, obviously, too, is a little bit of the Rams dialing back in that game in the second half, realizing what was going on with the turnovers. So that was a bit of what was at play. But the way this defense is playing, Jake, I mean, they are absolutely just cooking.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Double X Alex, my guy Alex Marin, appreciate the 5. The meltdown / crash out Zim would have if the Bengals traded Burrow to the Rams, and if we want to chip with him, worth 4 firsts easily. Love Zim, but yeah, he would absolutely lose his mind. Huge Bengals fan, actually, with the round table. Matthew, thank you for the 5.
I think tough. Good to see you out there, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, Alex. But yeah, anyway, thank you for the 5. I think the college schemes are not developing quarterbacks like they used to. I would draft quarterbacks from colleges that run pro-style offense. Am I crazy on this? Well,
good luck finding pro-style offenses.
Exactly, right? You're not crazy. I totally agree with your point, but they're trying to win football games. It's like Lane Kiffin said, I don't care about if they're ready for the neast step. I'm trying to win a football game. Typical Lane Kiffin answer. But
Matthew, they could fix it if they squish down the hash marks. Yes. They could force teams to then go into more of a pro style offense. This is what's really driving at the end of the day is that. So college just doesn't want to do that for whatever reason. Until they do, you're going to keep getting quarterbacks. You're completely right. You're going to keep getting quarterbacks underdeveloped.
Yeah, it's really irritating. It's why I hate college football, and I just watch after the season. I watch like the isolated breakdown of the all 22. I don't care for college at all.
No, it's awful.
I'm also a Kansas Jayhawk fan. Not really much to celebrate about right now. Megan, thank you for the 5. 50,000 ways to be hurt before you leave the house, and not just the Seahawks winning in Melbourne. We'll keep in touch with you both. Appreciate you, Megan.
Thank you, Megan.
Industry Worth over on my channel
has Industry Worth. Appreciate you, Cal.
Has a $2 super sticker. Unfortunately, because StreamYard still hasn't figured this out and it's 2026, we just get super sticker. And then Industry Worth is coming in with a $2.99 super sticker. And like I said, we just get super sticker. So really appreciate you, of course. Jordan with the 5. These ref stats are cute. If you look at those games, the teams they played were bad and they were blown out. Ref had nothing to do with it.
Which I'm lost.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you talking about because I know the big thing about Clay Martin that people are, upset about is that he officiated the 26-20 overtime game last year against Seahawks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and there was nothing. I didn't have a problem last year's that game. I didn't have any problem with the officiating in that game.
Yeah, no. I don't know. But like I said, the last time I saw the Rams, they were undefeated with a referee. They lost the Super Bowl. So
this could be what he's referenced on, that those games just didn't have anything, just because that's what they call it. Causation doesn't make chorality or something. Isn't that how the term goes? Something like that. So
yeah. Well, oftentimes, like I said, with Clay Martin, the Rams were they were penalized more on 4 of those games out of the 7. So they still won 7-0.
There we go.
Wyatt Wood, thank you for the 10. Sunday is going to say a lot about Mike McDonald. I really have a hard time believing Mike is going to allow the Rams offense to have that much success again. I do too. I don't think they're going to have as much success as they had in the short week. I do expect some success, but not as much.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to shut him out. I just think it will be it'll be a close matchup, both teams. I think both defenses will put a good game on, and Mike's going to have a great game plan, and this team's going to, he's been basically de facto prepping for 2 weeks. He was operating like we were going to get you guys in the next round and then after that. So I'd imagine it'll be a lot different attack than the last one.
Then we have Gilleg here with the 5. K9 going to have another big game. We shall see.
Great back, man. He's been just so good to finally see him get holes and be in a system that can utilize his skill set to the utmost after watching him for years, man. Just get hit behind the line of scrimmage, no holes. Have to duck. It's like the old Barry Sanders runs, where he makes the greatest run you've ever seen in your life for a yard. And it's hard to celebrate that guy. Everybody looks at the yard per carry then and goes, "Well, he's not that good." It's like, oh, our line's just that bad.
Oh man, it's been irritating trying to defend him because people they bring up, well, he's the 28th best fantasy running back. Leave the fantasy stats away from me. We're talking real football. I can't. It's really irritating. Jay Malfair, thank you for the 2 over on Brando's channel. Dallas and Philly are undefeated in games they don't play. It's amazing how that works. You should go to the Super Bowl. Let's just skip this champion. Just put them right in the Super Bowl. They can face each other.
Exactly.
Peter Go Hawks, thank you for the 2.
National media like that.
No, yeah. All NFC West playoff teams had storybook scenarios. It's true.
Very much so. Very, very much so.
One team, now we know regardless of how this outcome goes, the 49ers fans are getting the worst case scenario by far.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of us is raising that Lombardi. And I said it's forever. The nice extra cherry on top is it's either forever going to be Hawks house or Rams house. If we got more Super Bowl wins in your building than you have, we get to name the rights. We get naming rights.
Oh my God. Because then that fully eliminates having to hear Levi South.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The maths here, man. The maths. What are you going to say to me, 49er fan? We raised more in your house. And here you won. Here you in the playoffs. You're still in your Super Bowl window.
Yeah. We'll probably have to move if that happens.
They might. Well, we're at least that substation, huh?
Oh, yeah. Hector, thank you for the 5. Rams are on a mission to win the Super Bowl, just like the Buccaneers 2020 and the Packers 2010. 3 road teams beat the AFC team by 20 in the Super Bowl, 31-23 Rams. I'll take it all. I'll take a 20-point win against Drake May and the Patriots and be like, see, you thought you were going to win 3 in my lifetime.
Part. I'll take the second to last part on that.
Oh, man. Appreciate you. Megan, so you convert family to Rams fandom, Jake? No accounting for taste, I guess. Well, they got a chance to enjoy a Super Bowl in 2021, or 2022. So, everybody wins a little bit, right?
That's right. That's right.
My best friend he used to watch the Rams with us when they were terrible, and he became a fan officially in 2019. So he didn't have to wait long to see a Super Bowl.
That's what you do. I've converted a few over the years.
Ruiz, thank you for the 2. Corny naming defense dark side meets Superman Stafford. I don't know what's cornier. I like the hash slinging Stafford. I don't care. I'm a SpongeBob fan, so give me the hash slinging Stafford, because everyone says that he's always, stealing souls and snatching souls. So
I like it.
There's my dad. Shout out,
what's up, Dad?
And he's coming in with the 2, and then he's got another one here with the 5. Biggest fear is that the refs ruin this game. They alter the outcomes of too many games, just want a clean game and no bad calls either way. Yeah, I agree, and I see where he's coming from, because my concern is we have the last game of the season until you get to the Super Bowl 2 weeks later. The NFL could get their grimy paws on this one, and I don't want to see it. I want to see I want to see this game won via football. I don't want to see a Bills-Broncos thing where people are talking about what's a catch. I don't want to see D Ford lining up offsides, sending the Patriots to the Super. I don't want to see anything like that. I just want to see one team found a way to win and beat another team without officiating help or anything like that. And that's not a stab at the Seahawks Thursday night game. It's in general, because it has happened before. So, I mean, obviously Rams Saints too. So I think at this point, just across the board, I can live with that. But it would be such a shame the winner then has to deal with the fact, like, the whole week we're talking like the Broncos right now. I mean, the Broncos outplayed the Bills. I'm just gonna be honest. Josh Allen didn't play well enough to win that game, but they got screwed. Like, I think the Brandon Cooks hold was ridiculous. The fact they didn't call PI in the end zone, and then they decided to give him 53 penalty yards in overtime. Just insane.
It is insane, and it's not right. Just let him play, and we're both, I think, in agreement here, and I think fan bases will be too, where it's kind of like, hey, there's not going to be any of these old typical rules. We're like, well, no out gouging, no hit to the crotch, no. Instead, it's like, hey, why don't we just both agree no rules here, and you keep these refs, the zebras, out of it. And it's like, yeah, we're good with that. Yeah, we're good with that. So when we see some tugs, when we see some pulls, as long as they're not calling it both ways, ain't going to be any complaining from me on that whatsoever. It's just about also maintaining that consistency to both sides, calling it both ways, calling consistently through 4 quarters the same way. You do that,
and overtime.
I'm going to be plenty happy. Plenty happy. I've got no problems. You guys come out of this with zero penalties, and we come out of this with 3. I'm gonna be a happy ass camper in the respect to how it was officiated in that way, like you guys had last week in that Chicago game. I don't care if there's that discrepancy at that point. I can deal with that, but just let's keep it in that mode.
Yeah, I totally agree. Perry Toll, thank you for the 5. Didn't know Mark was a Seahawks fan. I would have moved the truck if he had said something. Oh my God, that's the guy. Oh, that's the guy. That is the guy. Good Lord. Well, we appreciate the super.
Mark, how could you?
Cryptic, thank you for the 2. Niner fan here. Y'all can get revenge on New England, possibly. That's right. We both have a bone to pick with New England.
We're slaying that storybook side of it, man. That's that both sides. It's a storybook kind of season, the way it came up for all of us, and it's what a conclusion it'll be for us. And I don't know if you'll feel this way. I will feel this way. If we get the Super Bowl this year, I will hold this in higher regard than even the 13 season. As great as that season was, as awesome as that was to do what we did, it would be just the fact that this came up out of the ether. No one saw it coming, and you were able to accomplish it from our side. First, how it's ended, man. If we take you guys down now for a second week, 2 trilogies back to back for us, on top of what we done, that then gets New England to take down the team that beat us last in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is Sean McVay almost retired after the Super Bowl. He had a really rough 2022. Stafford with the back, everyone was saying he's going to have to retire. You know, he had the spinal cord injury. And then the whole offseason, I had to hear from people who have no idea what's going on. And they're just regurgitating that media fodder about Stafford's back and how he's not going to be able to play and all that stuff. And I think this would be the most, and I feel like I'd get the most out of this Super Bowl because I've since gone back and realized I regret the way I covered the Super Bowl against the Bengals because I basically went out of town and hung out with Alexis. And, you know, we had a great time hanging out and whatnot, but you know, I felt like I could have done a better job covering it. I don't feel like I got as much out of it as I should have. And I feel like, I want to be able to cover a Super Bowl again. And I feel like I'm going to be doing that. But like I said, if it ends, you know, if as long as it's not controversial, I'm going to be fine. Jordan, thank you for the 2. The insert team is undefeated with this ref. Yeah, well, I just like to throw everything on the table. There are a lot of people that got upset with me posting that. I mean, the reality is they're facts. If they hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. Like I didn't even post them with anything like, "Oh, take that, Seattle," and I had Seahawks fans yelling at me and calling me names. It's like, dude, I'm just posting the stats. Like I always do it. Because you know why? Because Rams fans obsess over it. They always ask for it. So I have a market for people to ask me for said stats, so I put said stats out there. I'm also a big history buff. Banker Elpris, thank you for the 2. The 2 goats of the NFC West Roundtable.
Oh, thank you, Baker.
Appreciate that.
And you've been very kind on all your support. You dropped a few donuts on my side, too, on my end of the fence. So appreciate you, Baker. Banker.
Yes, much love, much love. Industry Worth, thank you for the 5. What are you guys having for dinner? Great live stream show. We got some sushi and a burger. Jake and Brando, go Hawks. I haven't figured that out yet.
Do some fettuccine Alfredo and a little bit of garlic bread.
Yeah, maybe some leftover pizza from Sunday.
There we go. Leftover victory pizza.
Yeah. There you go. Gotta lay waste to some victory pizza. I don't know. But that is going to do it. We're going to get over to Sleeper, and then we'll give our picks and call it a show. So shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring both of our channels. Brando, what's your code first off before?
My code is NEST, N-E-S-T.
Love it. My code's JKB. If you haven't gotten in on the action with Sleeper, you can do so. Get your 100% bonus match up to $100 using my code JKB or Brandon's code NEST. And also, there's a $20 free entry just kind of waiting for you. This would be the time to use it. You got 2 huge games on Sunday. You want to throw some stuff on there? Well, there you go. You can do so over on Sleeper. The link is in the description below. And without further ado, the end of the show is the best way to end a show. The prediction. You waited this long. It's been 2 hours and 47 minutes. But what will Jake Ellenbogen and Brandon Cain predict for Rams Hawks Part 3? Go, Brandon.
Well, I see it being a tight game down the line. I think we got to try to play especially clean the start of this game to kind of survive what I think is going to be a really big punch by you guys out the gate and what you're going to send at us. I think it comes down the line. I do have Seattle winning this 24-20. I think it's as much we're going to talk about quarterback so much in this lead up to this matchup at the round table, but I think this is going to come down to who is just purely the better team, who's playing the best football at this time of year, who's a little fresher. I think those little factors end up bearing out just enough. Along with, I think, a very big advantage on the special team side, and that ends up allowing us to get the win.
I'm going to go with, and I just kept going back and forth on this, I'm going to go 24-23. I think it's going to be that freaking close. I don't know if my heart can take it, but I think ultimately the Rams have been here. They've done that before. Stafford, McVay, I think that experience is going to play a big factor. I think the defense knows, that you had Jared Verse looking up at the scoreboard. You had Jared Verse looking over at the Eagles celebrating. Him saying, I'm never going to look at the guys again, and I never want them to feel this way. And this is a defense pretty similar to last year that went up against Sam Darnold in this spot in the playoffs. and they had a really good time doing it. So I think this team, they forced 6 interceptions this year on Darnold. They got to him 9 times last year, for 9 sacks in the Vikings game. I think they're going to do it, and I think they're going to get after Darnold. I think they're going to force him to make a mistake or two. I think Seattle's that good where it will still be that close of a game, 24-23. Rams move on. And who are they playing on both sides? Who are the Seahawks playing, Brando? Who do you got in the AFC?
Oh, it's New England. I'm
so?
not trusting in Jared Stidham, and I just think, it's very will have an attack set up for Stidham, and the Denver defense hasn't been quite playing. I think they're a really good defense, but I think they've been artificially pushed a little bit tiny up for how they get talked about and the way they could kind of carry this load. I just don't, and that's a Denver offense that manufactures so much with Nix as it is anyway. They need his legs, and Stidham doesn't bring his legs, and that loss alone, your ability to not play off script, scramble around, extend plays. Stidham can't do that stuff. And he doesn't have even an arm of Bro Nix. I think that they do get the win there.
Yeah, I got the Patriots winning, but I think it'll be close. I got 22-18. I think it's going to be an ugly game, and I think they'll find their way. They're going to end up winning this game because of Ramondre Stevenson, who everyone wanted to throw in the trash. I think he's going to get just a nice drive where they just can't stop him. He's going to wear down that defense. I think that'll be enough. I think they're going to keep Drake May in the second half pretty much on ice. I think they're going to run the football. I really don't think that they probably trust him, but I don't think they trust him like, the Seahawks may trust Sam Darnold, the Rams trust Matthew Stafford. Teams that typically trust a veteran quarterback, I don't think they quite trust him on that level. And so I think it'll be 22-18, and I think the Patriots, Rams, we got the part 3 for Rams Seahawks. Well, part 3 Rams Patriots. And this time, it's not the young quarterback versus the experienced guy on the Rams side. It's actually the experienced guy versus the young quarterback on the Patriots side. So, should be interesting. But
there we go.
That is it. We got 2 more donations real quick, and then we got to head on over to Roundtable. Jordan says, it wasn't a shot at you. I'm saying those stats mean nothing, but people obsess over them. Oh, I know. It's all good, Jordan. I wasn't talking about you either. It's just people on social media. People also think gematria exists and, actually causes teams to lose. And it's insane.
Thank you, Jordan.
What's
Appreciate
good?
You, man.
Thank you for the 5. Hey, great content from both of you. Question, how did Patrick Mahomes beat this Mike Mac defense, and do you think Staff and Rams will do the same?
Well, what they did is they came out and got 2 early scoring drives in that matchup. They did so on the back of Mahomes making some really GOAT-like throws in there to Kelsey, especially on those particular drives. They started out with a couple of throws out of the backfield, bubble screens, throws to the flat. They had those 2 successful drives. McDonald made adjustments. They didn't score again the rest of the game. Ravens couldn't do jack diddly dandy, and that was it, offensively speaking. So it was that's what they essentially did in that first matchup.
Okay.
I don't think the Rams will do the same, though, because the Rams do a little more pushing the ball down the field, a little more of targeting tight ends down the field. They will use their running backs, but it's more peppered in there, a little more of the screen game. I just don't think they run some of this. They run some similar stuff, but not the same stuff exactly conceptually the Chiefs do with that. A little more willing to go and get after it than the Chiefs offense. So the Chiefs offense at that time was a little more like peck away at you.
Yeah, no, you're right on that one. All right, well, that's going to do it. We got a quick one from Feed Me More Seahawks. We'll see you guys over at the NFC West Roundtable. Definitely be sure to tune in over there. Mike McDaniels to the Chargers. I don't know if that is a confirmation there, but that is the super chat.
Interesting.
So don't yell at me.
Wow. Well, that'd be wild if that's the case. I'm going with Harbaugh. That's a wild fit between 2 different people that don't think anything in a similar way of their outlook towards the sport.
I know. Isn't that funny? It's truly.
We'll see how that one goes, brother. We'll see how that fit lands.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I'm sending you all over to the NFC West Roundtable. I've just hooked it up from my side, Brandon. I don't know how you're able to do that, but so be sure to just stay here, and it'll just redirect you over to there. But that's gonna do it. We appreciate you guys. You guys have been a great audience for almost 3 hours. I mean,
let's go, brother.
Are you really surprised?
Let's go.
And
no, not at all.
We'll see you guys after. We'll see you guys at Roundtable.
See you guys later, man. Appreciate you. Go Hawks.